Chapter 754. Hope Town. The original Hope Town where the mercenaries rested had long disappeared. Not even the ruins were left. The only thing that still had the mark of Hope Town was the broken tablet that was stuck in between the mountain walls. Like a mud monkey, Yikong crawled out of the mud and panted for a long time. After a while, he slowly recovered and shouted hoarsely, "Prince, Prince, are you dead?" After a long time, a weak voice came out from the mud under his body. "Not yet, but if you don't dig me out, I'm going to suffocate to death." Yikong jumped up when he heard that and frantically dug the mud under his body. After digging for a long time, he finally dug out a mud man. But he couldn't recognize that it was the clean and handsome prince of Tianluo. Cough, cough, cough. On a rock, Thousand Goblins sect leader pressed his chest and coughed softly. There was a big hole in Thousand Goblins sect leader's lungs. That was Yikong's doing. An hour ago, when Thousand Goblins sect leader attacked Yikong's heart, Yikong retaliated with an attempt to perish together with him. Thousand Goblins sect leader avoided the heart on his left chest and only hit his right lung. The result of the fight was that Yikong's heart stopped beating. Prince of Tianluo couldn't recover even after trying to save him for a long time. Everyone thought that Yikong was dead. Who knew that after being thrown on the ground and drenched in the rain, this guy who was even more tenacious than a cockroach would automatically come back to life? There was only one. The Black Prince, who wanted to pierce through Yikong's brain, drew a deep finger mark from his forehead to his cheeks. Yikong didn't pierce through his brain, but his right eyeball was almost destroyed. The result of the fight between him and the Black Prince was that he took out a piece of the Black Prince's internal organs. Yikong didn't know what it was, but he was afraid that the Black Prince would take it back and stuff it back. Yikong didn't hesitate and immediately ate that piece of internal organ. When the crazy Black Prince beat Yikong until he vomited, he would only vomit blood and stomach acid. It was impossible for him to vomit that piece of internal organ out. Thousand Goblins sect leader pressed his chest and coughed, while the Black Prince pressed his stomach. Thousand Goblins sect leader, who was originally floating in the sky, had no strength to fly anymore and was forced to land on a rock. Of course, even until now, he still insisted that he stood higher than Yikong and Prince of Tianluo. The Black Prince, who had been invisible all this time, could no longer maintain his invisible state. In order to maintain his mystery, the Black Prince put on a cloak of invisibility. Yikong and Prince of Tianluo saw a black monster wearing an oversized cloak standing in the shadows. Fresh blood stained the tattered cloak. If it wasn't for the fact that they were in the middle of a life and death battle, Yikong and Prince of Tianluo would have taken out their money. The Black Prince's beggar costume was too unique. Hold on for a little longer. They're already at their limit. The Thousand Goblins sect leader comforted the Black Prince. In fact, he had said this no less than 100 times. Even he himself felt like vomiting. But there was no other way. This was the reality. This Yikong and Prince of Tianluo were 100 times more difficult to deal with than what the Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince had expected. Shun Tian, who could have instantly killed Fatty Hai, had yet to arrive, and the Marquis of Zijin was also unable to take down Shui Tanlang. What made the Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince the most furious was that even the great elder of the Guangming continent, who had brought more than 10 subordinates, was still unable to take care of that little girl. Lu Yi. If the great elder returned now, the Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince would definitely tell this old man to hang himself. Even with such a large group of people, he couldn't even take care of a little girl. With this kind of strength, how could he still boast about being the strongest in the Guangming continent's elder hall? The fastest, the easiest to win, the least likely to lose team had yet to return. The Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince were speechless. If they couldn't even handle such a small matter, how could they hope to dominate the Tong Tian Tower? How could they hope to fight against the Demonic Palace, the Eastern Goblin Tribe, the Underworld Clan, and the Demon Clan? Were the birdmen of the Guangming continent joking? No wonder when the Sky Emperor died, the Black Hell King, that loser, did not think that the Guangming continent would win. No matter which aspect, which battlefield, or whoever came, it would be better than now. The Thousand Goblins sect leader and the Black Prince suspected that Shun Tian, the Marquis of Zijin and the Great Elder, had already been killed by Yu Yang. Otherwise, why didn't they come? Forget about Shui Tan Lang. He was indeed difficult to deal with. But why didn't Shun Tian quickly get rid of trash like Fatty Hai? The most infuriating thing was that the Great Elder couldn't even take care of that little girl, Lu Yi. The Great Elder, who had been the Great Elder for thousands of years, was really a waste. Do you have any more martial arts pills? Give me one. Yi Kong stretched out his muddy hands towards the Prince of Tian Luo. Scram! The Prince of Tian Luo was furious. An hour ago, this monkey Yi had already eaten his share, almost causing him to die. Now, he still dared to stretch out his hands shamelessly? The martial arts pills made by Yu Yang weren't meant to be eaten as rice. Everyone was given a few pills. The Prince of Tian Luo saved them because he couldn't bear to eat them. Who knew that this guy would throw them all into his mouth, not leaving a single one behind? The Prince of Tian Luo licked his lips and realized that his throat was burning. He opened his mouth and caught the drizzling rain from the sky before introducing it to Yi Kong. This rainwater seems to be free of poison. Try drinking a mouthful too. When Yi Kong heard this, he realized that the rainwater really wasn't as green as before. He opened his mouth wide like a toad. After drinking 2 mouthfuls of rainwater, he continued to provoke the Black Prince. Black Dog, your bullsh Astra's tea green poison is really useless. It disappears after a while. The poisonous lizard that I met in the Heaven Realm last time is more powerful. It spat out a mouthful of poisonous smoke, and even after 3 days, it still makes me dizzy. The Black Prince ignored Yi Kong's provocation. He decided to wait for Shun Tian and the others to come. Otherwise, he wouldn't take the initiative to attack. Yi Kong, this bastard, risked his life the moment he attacked, as if his little life wasn't worth a copper coin. The Prince of Tian Luo was extremely sinister. When Yi Kong risked his life, he would grab him and beat him up. That damned heaven-ranked beast was getting stronger and stronger. Now that all 4 of them were heavily injured, whoever took the initiative to attack would most likely perish together with the other 2. If the Thousand Goblin sect leader didn't take the initiative to risk his life, of course he wouldn't do such a stupid thing. In a protracted battle, it was still more advantageous for his side. The Black Prince silently accumulated his energy. Every 5 minutes, he would release a black shock wave towards Yi Kong and the Prince of Tian Luo. Yi Kong and the Prince of Tian Luo wanted to kill each other at the same time. They wanted to seize the opportunity to self-destruct. The Black Prince's heart was as clear as a mirror. Trying to trick him? Impossible. The Thousand Goblin sect leader also had the same thought. He also felt that as long as he released the shock wave from a distance, it wouldn't be a problem to exhaust the Prince of Tian Luo and Yi Kong. Unless he was crazy, it was impossible for him to take the initiative to run forward and let them self-destruct. If he waited any longer, Shun Tian, the Marquis of Zijin, and the Great Elder would come over. Half an hour ago, he almost gave the opportunity to Yi Kong. Luckily, the Prince of Tian Luo did not self-destruct in time. Otherwise, he would have died. Now, he still wanted to go forward and die. Even the Black Prince wouldn't do such a stupid thing. He wasn't an idiot. The Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince each had their own thoughts. They didn't dare to be too close to the opponent. Other than Yi Kong and the Prince of Tian Luo, their enemies were actually worried that the opponent would hit them when they were down. In this world, there were no eternal enemies, nor were there eternal friends. Benefits could make people change everything. Other than themselves, they couldn't trust anyone else. The Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince seemed to be working together to fight against the enemy. However, they would never be like Yi Kong and Fatty Hai, leaving their backs to their companions. Cough, cough, cough. A faint coughing sound could be heard. The 4 of them were stunned. This was because this cough was not made by the Thousand Goblin sect leader. Who was it? In the curtain of rain, a black shadow floated over from the distant sky. When it got closer, the 4 of them looked carefully and realized that it was actually the Marquis of Zijin. The Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince were overjoyed. Yi Kong and the Prince of Tian Luo's expressions changed drastically. What did the appearance of the Marquis of Zijin mean? It meant that Shui Tianlang had been defeated. Other than Yu Yang, the most talented person in the team, Shui Tianlang had been defeated? Among the younger generation of men, this genius who was only ranked below Yu Yang could not defeat a strong enemy and became a weakling who was eliminated by history? Ha ha ha, I knew it. That brat Shui Tianlang was not your opponent. The Thousand Goblins sect leader was overjoyed. Although the current Marquis of Zijin did not have the strength of the Thousand Goblins King, he was still the last clone of the Thousand Goblins King. In addition to his extraordinary intelligence and recovered strength of innate level 8, defeating Shui Tianlang was a matter of course. Cough cough. The Marquis of Zijin coughed slightly. It was unknown whether it was because he was humble or because his internal injuries had not healed. You guys are still here? A voice appeared in the curtain of rain. Shun Tian's figure gradually appeared. His tone was strange and seemed to be mocking. I thought you guys were all gone. His words angered the Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince. They immediately retorted, Are you, Shun Tian, very strong? You only came now after beating up Fatty Hai. Look, even your strongest right fist was broken. With your appearance of a loser, what right do you have to mock us? If it was me, I would have killed Fatty Hai in an instant and turned his head into a chamber pot. The Black Prince's words were a typical example of saying things that were easier said than done. Actually, the Thousand Goblin sect leader also understood that Fatty Hai was not easy to deal with since he could break Shun Tian's right fist. Otherwise, Shun Tian would not have rushed over only now. However, hearing Shun Tian's tone, they could not swallow their anger. Seeing that Shun Tian and the Marquis of Zijin had arrived, the Thousand Goblin sect leader was secretly happy. No matter what, they had won today's battle. Yi Kong and Prince of Tian Luo were definitely dead. Now, only the Great Elder and the others were left. However, as long as the Great Elder's brain was not filled with shit, he would not be defeated by Lu Yi and the others. Just as the Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince were preparing to attack Yi Kong and Prince of Tian Luo, a large group of people seemed to be rushing towards them from afar. When they were not here, not a single one came. Now all of them have rushed over. The Thousand Goblin sect leader felt a little embarrassed. It seemed that only he and the Black Prince had not completed the mission. However, who asked him to fight against the strongest person in the team, Prince of Tian Luo, and that unkillable Yi Kong? It was only logical that he and the Black Prince would fight to the end. Moreover, among so many people, he and the Black Prince should have the least injuries. Shun Tian was the strongest, but even his right fist was destroyed. A few human heads were thrown over in the heavy rain. One of them had died with a grievance. Under the washing of the rain, it rolled to the side of the rock under the Thousand Goblins sect leader's feet. The Thousand Goblins sect leader snorted. They were just relying on their numbers. Winning with numbers, there was nothing to be proud of in the Wing Clan Senate. Suddenly, he realized something was wrong. He looked at the human head on the ground carefully and realized that the head that had died with a grievance was actually that old goat-like Great Elder. What's going on? The Black Prince also realized something was wrong and cried out involuntarily. He realized that the human heads on the ground were all Senate elders. An old man draped in a large cloak walked out with the help of a walking stick. He coughed weakly and said, Do you need an explanation? Gale, you fishmen explain to them. I'm old, and my mouth is dry. I can't speak much. Behind this old man, the hybrid fishman octopus boss, Swordfish Blast, Whale Zhang, Mud Skipper Sui Zue, and the others appeared. On the other side, there were Lu Yi, Bao Er, Yu Ting, Feng Qi Sha, Yin Pejun, and the other young people. Other than that, there were also Southern Demon King, Xia Yi, Queen Chi Gu, Shark King, Chong Yanai, and other strong warriors who were not on the Thousand Goblin sect leader's battle list. It was as if there was an island in the sky. The entire sky darkened, as if there was something covering the sky. The Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince looked at it for a long time before realizing that it was an unimaginably huge ancient island whale. When the heaven-ranked level 3 ancient island whale appeared, the Thousand Goblin sect leader was in despair. He was not in despair because of the ancient island whale's strength, but because of the special domain that it possessed. All the targets that were covered by its shadow would not be able to leave easily. This was a type of predatory domain. To the ancient island whale, it might just be too lazy to move, so it used this kind of predatory domain to swallow some small shrimps. However, this kind of domain on the battlefield, especially on the weaker side, will be the biggest tragedy. Within a few minutes, another group of people charged into the rain. The ones leading them were the great Demon King Baruth, Demon King Ha-Exent, Demon King O-Jin, Lich King Guluan, Lich King Ma-Fa, and other strong warriors from the Demon Abyss. Don't misunderstand, Shun Tian, Black Prince, Thousand Goblin sect leader, and Marquis of Zijin. I should call you the future Thousand Goblins King. Actually, we don't have any evil intentions, because you are the last group of people who are still fighting. We are here to take a look. We're just taking a look. You guys continue, don't worry about us. The great Demon King Baruth was already a heaven-ranked Demon King. Although he was injured, he could look down on Shun Tian, Thousand Goblin sect leader and Black Prince with just his aura alone. Even if you guys can have your way for a while, once Yu Yang is dead, the ancient Demon King will not let you guys off. Let's see who can last longer. We can enter the grimoire and stay there for a period of time, waiting for you guys to all die before coming out. At that time, this Tong Tian Tower will still be ours, and you guys, who think highly of yourselves, will all be destroyed by the ancient Demon King and the Heaven Realm mercenaries. Moreover, you guys can save Yikong and Prince Tian Luo, but can you guys save Shui Tan Lang and Fatty Hai? Can you guys save Yu Yang? Show off your might. Let's see how long you guys can last. The Black Prince suddenly laughed coldly, as sharp as an owl. Who said that Shui Tan Lang is dead? Bao Er shouted in dissatisfaction. It was the Ice Cube guy who pierced through the Marquis of Zijin's heart, not the Marquis of Zijin who pierced through the Ice Cube guy's heart. All right? You guys even got this wrong. What kind of experts are you? What? Thousand Goblin sect leader and Black Prince heard this and looked at the Marquis of Zijin. That's right. The Marquis of Zijin nodded his head bitterly. He opened his cloak, revealing a huge hole in his chest. Inside that hole, the heart, lungs, and a part of his internal organs had all disappeared. The Marquis of Zijin had been defeated long ago. He had only rushed back because he had forced himself to hold on. Maybe he felt that there was no point in supporting him anymore. He slowly sat down on a rock and said to the bewildered Yikong and Prince Tian Luo, "Please pass a message to Yu Yang for me. I, the Marquis of Zijin, have lost. I admit that I am not his. Tong Tian Tower belongs to him." When the Marquis of Zijin lied down on the rock and finished his last word, his eyes also froze for a moment. The demon fire burned fiercely in the rain, burning the Marquis of Zijin's body and soul together. The Marquis of Zijin, who was once regarded by Yu Yang as the most shocking and most difficult opponent in his life, the Marquis of Zijin, who had once defeated Yu Yang and Shui Wuxia, had finally reached the end of his life at this moment, turning into ashes and smoke. Ha 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 ha! Good death! Good death! The good death! Shun Tian suddenly laughed like a madman. I was wrong, no. Not only me, we were all wrong. We were all frogs at the bottom of a well. All pitiful worms. Pitiful worms, who knew? We were all pitiful worms, ha ha. Shun Tian's laughter turned into a loud cry. In the rain, he didn't look like an innate rancor, but more like a madman as he staggered away. The Thousand Goblins sect leader and Black Prince's faces were as white as paper. They didn't understand what was wrong with Shun Tian. Could it be that he had gone mad? When Yikong and Prince Tian Luo were about to intercept him, the half-dead old dragon, Turtle, shook his head. Forget it. He has really gone mad. When he said that, the Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince were scared out of their wits. What had Shun Tian experienced? Who was it that had driven the proud emperor of Z-Wei crazy? Could it be Fatty Hai? Or could it be Yu Yang? Shun Tian had gone mad. He didn't care about his departure. But what about himself? The Thousand Goblin sect leader and the Black Prince looked at each other and saw that the other's eyes were filled with despair. Chapter 755. When Yang woke up, Ji Zun was already gone. Instead, the Bloody Queen, Hong's mother, who was hiding in the passageway at the base of the statue, sat quietly waiting for him. Yu Yang realized that his clothes had already turned into ashes. His body was covered by a snow-white velvet cloak. Smelling it carefully, the soft cloak seemed to have an indescribable virgin fragrance. Could it be that this was Ji Zun's cloak? Where did Ji Zun go? Come with me. Hong's mother stood up and waved at Yu Yang. Then she turned around. Yu Qiu entered the passageway at the base of the statue first. Yu Qiu, who was inside, had already turned into ashes due to the shock from the battle. His body was scattered all over the ground, but his soul still maintained the will he had when he was alive, lifting the stone gate at the entrance. While Yu Yang was changing his clothes, Hong's mother gently gathered the ashes of Yu Qiu and carefully put them into a gemstone box. When Yu Yang came in, she passed it to him reluctantly. She thought that Yu Yang was Yu Qiu's son, at least in name, so he should be the one to take care of his body. Yu Yang muttered to himself for a while. He shook his head. I think you should take care of it. Hong's mother had a look of joy on her face, but also a look of shame for letting a junior peek into her heart. She lowered her head, trying to explain. Actually, I've only met the Tiger Butcher a few times. I only respect his character. It's not the kind of relationship that outsiders think. Hong, it's good that she is by your side. This is also fate. I have no more worries in my heart now. From now on, I will only stay here with the Tiger Butcher to guard the door. After she finished speaking, she handed a small package to Yu Yang. This was what Yu Qiu had left for the pitiful guy. Of course, because the ancient demon king had completely abandoned the pitiful guy's body and identity, it belonged to Yu Yang, without a doubt. There weren't many items in the small bag, only 3. The first was the key. This key was not an ordinary key, but a flower-like crystal. Every facet of the crystal hid 999 rune circles, and Yu Yang did not count its facets, but his intuition told him that there were at least 999 facets. When Yu Yang turned this flower-like crystal key, his fingertips gently injected innate qi into it. The rune circles inside the flower key immediately lit up, and those rune circles would slowly move, constantly fusing and mutating, endlessly giving birth to new combinations and changes. It was boundlessly wonderful. When Yu Yang stopped infusing it with innate qi, it would slowly return to its original state. This flower-like crystal key should be the token to enter the stone gate that Yu Qiu was guarding. Yu Yang accepted it, but he was not in a hurry to use it. He entered the door that Yu Qiu was guarding. Even though he was curious about what was inside, he did not have the time to explore it now. The second item was a thick notebook. It started from the time when Yu Qiu contracted a grimoire. In it, there were all kinds of Yu Qiu's life experiences. This was also Yu Qiu's life notes. There were also various kinds of battle skills, beast training, and other experiences. Although it could not be compared to Xin Yang's inheritance of knowledge, it was still a lot of enlightenment for Yu Yang. The most important thing was that when Yu Yang flipped through it, he found that there were many family secrets recorded in the notebook. Yu Yang flipped through it anxiously. As expected, he found out the secret of Yu Yu's identity. When he saw it, he immediately cried out in surprise, I didn't expect it to be that girl. After seeing this secret, Yu Yang fell into a dilemma. If he told the truth to Yu Yu, maybe she would not have any psychological barrier when she trained with him in the future. However, the problem now was that there was still her. If she knew the truth, she might cry bitterly, unable to accept the truth. After thinking for a long time, Yu Yang decided to drag it out. He should take it slow. This kind of thing could not be rushed. Maybe one day in the future, this matter would naturally be solved, just like how he was worried about his identity. As long as he had the heart to solve it, nothing could stump him. The third item that Yu Qiu left behind was a dark gold storage ring with a simple luster. When Yu Yang opened the storage ring with supreme will, he found out that there were many items that Yu Qiu left behind. For example, the weapon that made him famous, the mercenary badge that he used before, and the various items that Elder Yu Hai and Junwu gave him. There were also some sheepskin scrolls that recorded the battle skills that he created. There were also letters that were written to Elder Yu Hai, Junwuyu, Yu Ling, Fourth Mother, and the others. Obviously, these letters did not belong to Yu Yang. In the storage ring, there was a letter that was written to a stranger named Dexian Yuan. Yu Yang was slightly startled, but he immediately reacted and passed the letter to Red's mother. Red's mother was also a little startled. When she saw that it was actually her name on it, she hurriedly took it. Seeing that Yu Qiu left a letter for her, she immediately became extremely excited. With trembling hands, she gently opened the letter. When she read the letter, drops of tears dripped onto the letter. When she finished reading the letter, she covered her mouth with her hands, tears gushing out like a fountain. Red's mother tried her best not to cry, but the sobs in her throat could not help but come out. It sounded like a cuckoo crying blood. She had waited for a letter that was delayed for more than 10 years. However, this letter came too late. When she understood his feelings, he had already turned into ashes. Only his soul was left, guarding this stone door forever. Yu Yang quietly stood beside her, quietly waiting for her to calm down. I'm fine. Red's mother wiped her tears and forced a tearful smile towards Yu Yang. I'm very happy that the Tiger Butcher did not forget me. I have no regrets to be able to receive his letter. I will always be here to accompany him. If you have time, bring Hong here for me to see. All right. Yu Yang nodded and promised. Can you let me stay here alone to accompany him? I suddenly have a lot of things I want to tell him. Red's mother looked at Yu Yang with tears in her eyes. I'll bring Hong over later. Yu Yang walked out of the passage. Behind him, Red's mother's suppressed sobs could be heard. Her sobs gradually became louder and louder. In the end, she broke down and cried bitterly. Yu Yang raised his head towards the sky, trying his best to control the warmth in his eyes. He had never tried it before, so he could not understand the feelings of someone who had waited for more than 10 years to receive a reply. However, he knew that it was definitely the most complicated feeling in the world. Sadness, happiness, bitterness, happiness, all kinds of feelings mixed together. Yu Yang had also experienced that kind of feeling in his heart. From his transmigration to obtaining Shui Wuxia's approval, to obtaining everyone's approval, and finally, to obtaining Fourth Mother's approval, Yu Yang had experienced an indescribable mental journey in the past 3 years. Every time he thought of the past, he would even sigh for it. Hearing Red's mother's cries, Yu Yang's emotions were stirred. He returned to the grimoire world with a little bit of emotion and flew towards Fourth Mother. He hugged her tightly, hoping to obtain more spiritual comfort from her. Silly child. Fourth Mother gave him a fright at first. When she realized that it was Yu Yang, she immediately hugged his head with her motherly instincts. She stretched out her hands and gently caressed his back. She sighed softly. There were many comforting words in her heart, but she didn't know where to start. She could only give him hugs and support, to let this child who was undefeatable in the Tongtian Tower in the eyes of others, but in reality could not face the torture in his heart, obtain the best spiritual comfort. He had Shui Wuxia and the others to accompany him. He had resolutely passed the test of the 12 zodiac temples. With the guidance of Jizun and Night Empress, he had also successfully passed the door of life and death. Now, she had solved the last worry in his heart. His heart should have grown to the point where there were no more flaws. There would definitely be more conflicts and troubles in life in the future. But this time, he had successfully walked out of it. He would definitely not be foolish again. She could also be at ease. Sister, I will definitely take good care of this little fellow. And Bing'er and Shuang'er, these little fellows that make people worry, I will take good care of them and let them grow up healthily. Fourth Mother gently caressed Yu Yang's hair. She looked up at the sky and smiled, as if she could see her sister nodding at her in the sky. Ah, I forgot. Yu Yang suddenly remembered the 9 Brilliance King. He anxiously struggled out of Fourth Mother's embrace. I forgot that the 9 Brilliance King is not dead yet. Duo, Ika, Jiangying, and Bingyin still have to fight. Fourth Mother, rest here for a while. I'll be back soon. Fourth Mother saw Yu Yang running out in a hurry. She shook her head lightly, but she showed a tolerant smile on her face. However, a forgiving smile appeared on his face. "You're still a child. You're always so impulsive. When will you be able to truly make me feel at ease?" Originally, Yu Yang planned to enter the black hole sealed space to see Queen Vivian Li about the Empress matter. He wanted to ask her about what happened in the past. But when he remembered that the Nine Brilliance King was still alive, he immediately canceled this plan. After bidding farewell to Fourth Mother, he came out of the grimoire world. Following Little One Li's guidance and sensing the direction of the battle, Yu Yang and the others teleported to the battlefield where the four girls were attacking the Nine Brilliance King. The current Nine Brilliance King was no longer as mighty as before. Ika and Duo were originally not as strong as the Nine Brilliance King. However, with the help of the Golden Giant, they had completely suppressed him for a long period of time. They had beaten the fallen flowers to the point where they ran out of energy. They could still easily restrain him even after the Golden Giant disappeared. Hornless Dragon Jiang Ying and Qilin Girl Bingyin were even stronger. Even without the Golden Giant's help, the combined strength of the four girls was still above the Nine Brilliance King. Most importantly, not only was the Nine Brilliance King heavily injured, his fighting spirit was also extremely low. He only wanted to escape and was not willing to fight with the four girls. Divine Dragon, Dragon Tail returned. The hornless dragon Jiang Ying was the one who attacked the least. She had not inherited the divine power and could not control it with ease. However, if she hit him once, the Nine Brilliance King would be in big trouble because her attacks were filled with divine power. It was a supreme power that the Nine Brilliance King could not resist. The Nine Brilliance King originally wanted to blast Duo away with his sunlight and escape. He did not expect the hornless dragon Jiang Ying to seize this opportunity. Her slender legs spun like a windmill. The dragon-shaped, long tail swayed beautifully in front of her. The sunlight that was supposed to explode upon contact was immediately deflected by the dragon tail. It exploded on the Nine Brilliance King's body. Rumble! The Nine Brilliance King was once again hit by his sunlight and was sent flying into the air in a sorry state. Bingyin was in charge of restraining the Nine Brilliance King. She did not attack much and mainly allowed Ika and Duo to grow. However, it was impossible for the Nine Brilliance King to escape through her. Ever since they failed to intercept the Scarlet Emperor, Bingyin and Yu Yang had researched again and again. In the end, Bingyin created a set of Qilin Imperial Void Steps that was as beautiful as a dance. During the process of using this Qilin Imperial Void Steps, unless it was an expert much stronger than Bingyin, it was impossible to escape from the combination of movement and mental lock. Invisibility and teleportation were impossible to succeed under Bingyin's mental lock. Even Yu Yang would not be able to escape Bingyin's pursuit unless he used a small-scale power of law combined with the creation domain. Go down! Qilin Girl Bingyin stretched out her hand and pressed down with her right hand. Although the Nine Brilliance King had the time to block the attack, his body was forced to fall back to the ground. This was actually the 50th time he had failed to escape. Among the four girls, he could tell that the weakest was the Battle Angel, the strongest was the Qilin Girl, the Golden-Crowned Thorny Flower Queen, and the Hornless Dragon Girl. They were still unable to unleash their full power. Their teamwork was lacking, otherwise he would be in even more pain. What gave the Nine Brilliance King a headache was the Hornless Dragon, the Golden-Crowned Thorny Flower Queen, and the Battle Angel. All of them were growing rapidly in battle. They were becoming more familiar and stronger. At this rate, they would be able to kill him easily in less than a day. Am I really going to die on this Heaven Stairway? It seemed like Ji Zun and Yu Yang had already killed the Heaven Empress. They would catch up to me at any time. No matter if it was Ji Zun or Yu Yang, I would be in grave danger. The Nine Brilliance King panicked when he thought of this. Nine Brilliance consecutive explosion. The Nine Brilliance King suppressed the pain in his body and condensed 9 energy balls of different sizes in the muddy smoke that filled the air. Some were shaped like the sun, and some were shaped like the moon. There were all kinds of energy balls. The Nine Brilliance consecutive explosion formed a straight line. If it was used to attack an enemy, its power would be 100 times greater than a single attack. If he could successfully use it to intercept the Qilin girl, he would have a chance to escape. Go to hell. When the muddy smoke dispersed, the Nine Brilliance King revealed himself and raised the Nine Brilliance energy ball in his hand ferociously. However, the moment he threw it out, he saw a shadow. This shadow was a stranger before the battle. But after the battle, it had become the Nine Brilliance King's greatest nightmare. He was Yu Yang. When the Nine Brilliance King condensed the Nine Brilliance consecutive explosion, Yu Yang summoned the War God Guard Sisters. He raised his arm toward the sky as if he was holding up a divine sword. The elder sister of the Dragon Ladies, Yao, flew into the sky and stopped above Yu Yang's head. Her body emitted countless rays of divine light. Under the Nine Brilliance King's incredulous gaze, her body turned into a rainbow ray of divine light that quickly condensed into an indescribably beautiful divine sword. The totem of a lovebird instantly covered the entire sky. The enormous and beautiful lovebird divine sword slowly landed in Yu Yang's palm. It resonated with him as if it was connected by blood. Their energy flowed together, emitting millions of rays of dazzling light that illuminated the entire world. He held the sword in his hand. At this moment, Yu Yang was like a god. There was nothing in the world that could resist his supreme will. Danger! A familiar shadow of death immediately rose in the Nine Brilliance King's heart. Earlier, when the blood-winged angel divine weapon had locked onto him and was about to slash at him, the Nine Brilliance King had felt an indescribable fear. Chapter 756. With the death of the Commander Level 4 Cs, the Nine Light Clan had reached an irreversible end. Even if Sky Execution, Dragon Emperor, and Underworld Emperor didn't come, the vengeful Ancient Demon King would never spare the Nine Light Clan. Those who betrayed their allies for the sake of treasures and other benefits, and those who killed to conceal the truth, would eventually be spurned by history. The Nine Light Clan had escaped the betrayal of the Demon Dragon and the betrayal of Fei Wenli, but in the end, they couldn't escape the betrayal of the Ancient Demon King. It wasn't that the Ancient Demon King was stronger than the previous two, it was just that the timing and the opponent he chose were different. This time, the opponents the Nine Light Clan faced were Ji Zun, who was beyond their expectations, and Yu Yang, who they had severely underestimated. The Heaven Empress died on the spot, and the Nine Light King was about to follow in her footsteps, destined to a tragic fate. Once the Pillar of the Four Seas fell, the Nine Light Clan would have no chance to rise again. Go to hell! The primordial Demon King waved his hand and summoned the Broken Death Fairy. It carried the heavily injured Eugene, the Undertaker, into a black hole that led to an unknown place in an even more broken cage made of bones. Eugene struggled desperately, trying to escape from the black hole. Two extremely long coffin nails stretched out of his body and hung outside the black hole, refusing to go in. The Death Fairy had been broken before and had lost its greatest power. It couldn't guarantee that Eugene would be sent into the black hole. The black hole became smaller and smaller. The Ancient Demon King angrily stretched out his hand and forcefully tore the black hole open. Then, he pulled out the coffin nails and threw them into the black hole. Eugene used the coffin monster to carry himself and ejected 10,000 meters away, escaping from the black hole. However, before he could completely break free from the bone cage, Sky Execution's fist arrived and heavily hit the coffin monster's lid. The powerful Sky Execution's power lifted the lid. The Dragon Emperor cooperated and kicked Eugene out of the coffin monster. The Emperor of the Underworld's single arm struck heavily. Eugene dodged in a sorry state. In the sky, Princess Sisai, who had condensed the power of the Four Saints, had been preparing for a long time. She raised the Prison Emperor Divine Sword and slashed down. On the other side, the battle between Li Pan and Raging Flame was also coming to an end. The #1 warrior of the Nine Glory clan, Li Pan, who was originally slightly stronger than Raging Flames, was suppressed to the limit by Shui Wuxia's Divine Sense Domain. He couldn't tell what was real and what was fake. It was absolutely impossible to break out of the Divine Sense Domain with brute force. Moreover, there was Anand's psychedelic butterfly demon's psychedelic pollen hallucination, and the succubus queen's spiritual charm complemented each other. Not to mention the power of the impatient sky punishment. Not to mention the fallen flower's nirvana sunflower. Even Aman's titan power and Red's divine beast were enough to make Li Pan suffer. Grey Wolf, Star Sky Scorpion, and Tao Tai Blade were even more unreasonable in their sneak attacks. His fighting style was unscrupulous. They have no elegance to speak of. In their eyes, the best enemy was a dead enemy. He was hit by Anand's butterfly demon's pollen and the charm of the succubus queen. He was hit by Yu Bing's blood-sealing throat and the Star Sky Scorpion's golden scorpion venom. He was hit by the Nirvana Sunflower's blindness and the impatient sky punishment. Li Pan, the #1 warrior of the Nine Glory clan, still couldn't hold on. He staggered and ran in Shui Wuxia's divine sense domain. However, he would never be able to get out of the divine sense domain. Li Pan could ignore the attacks of the spirit of heaven fire, Reaper Mantis, and Golden Flaming Lion King Simba in the past. But now he was severely injured and weak to the extreme and had reached the limit of what his body could bear. Ow! Grey Wolf transformed into a giant world exterminating demon wolf and waved his front claws like swatting a fly, hitting Li Pan, who was still holding on. When Li Pan fell down, it lowered its big mouth and bit him in its mouth, preparing to forcefully swallow him. Li Pan, who felt that death was coming, used his last bit of strength. He opened Grey Wolf's mouth. He escaped painfully and with difficulty without Yu Yang by his side. Grey Wolf, who could not transform for a long time, angrily swung the true essence demon scythe with its tail, swatting Li Pan away like a fly. On the other side, Man seized the opportunity and cooperated tacitly. She waved the Black Hell King's sacred weapon, cloud-collapsing thunder hammer, and hit Li Pan's head. Li Pan was instantly sent flying hundreds of meters away. While he was struggling powerlessly, a destructive nirvana sunflower slashed down from the sky. Li Pan, who was known as the #1 warrior of the Nine Light clan, was cut in half from head to toe. Li Pan's death in battle was also the end of the Nine Light clan, because before he died in battle, the clan's most intelligent mourner, Eugene, was beheaded by Princess Sisai. Li Pan was already the last member of the clan. Hui Tai Lang, Tao Tai, Simba, Star Scorpion, Spirit of Heaven Fire, Reaper Mantis, and the other beasts rushed forward. They tore Li Pan's body into pieces in anger and started to eat it, leaving only Li Pan's pair of golden arms that were almost invulnerable and could withstand the slash of the celestial sword. These two arms are not bad. Let's leave Duo's Crazy Thorny Flower Demon General and Smoke Thorny Flower Demon General to fuse. If the two of them could obtain the power of these two arms, they would not be so easily torn to pieces by the enemy. Shui Wuxia felt that the two Thorny Flower Demon Generals under Duo were still a little weak. In this battle, they were not able to play the role of a meat shield and were destroyed by the enemy's joint attack at the beginning of the battle. Fortunately, they were a part of the Guardian Beasts. As long as they had a certain amount of time to recover, they would automatically return to their original state. Meow! Grey Wolf, the leader of the beasts, quickly raised his paw to show his agreement. He did not walk the path of a meat shield. Although swallowing and fusing these two arms would also benefit him, Grey Wolf still liked to fight in the dark. Being a pitiful meat shield in front of everyone and blocking the enemy's tide-like attacks was not what he wanted, nor was it what he was good at. Tao Tai Blade did not have any objections. It did not have any thoughts. Whatever its master decided, it would do. Star Scorpion was a little reluctant. These two arms were able to block the Prison Emperor Divine sword in Princess Sisai's hands. Although it could only block the sword chi from afar and not directly block the divine sword, it could still be said to be an incredible treasure. Star Scorpion had just joined and did not have much status. Even Grey Wolf, the boss, had agreed, so it had nothing to say. Besides, Star Scorpion did not have the ability to be a meat shield in the future, nor did it have the interest to be beaten up. It was not a thorny flower that could never be killed. Spirit of Heaven Fire was not interested in the golden arm. To it, this thing could not be compared to a pure fire crystal. Reaper Mantis was also not interested in something that its teeth could not bite. The two of them did not even look at the golden arm and handed the task of moving the golden arm to Simba, who had just joined. Simba brought his lioness wife and diligently moved the golden arm back. Then, he carried the little panda Nyonyo, who was doted on by Yu Yang and Drunken Cat, and ran towards the black that appeared in the distance. That was Yu Yang and the others who had returned victorious. Ancient Demon King sighed slightly, crushed the teleportation crystal, and teleported away dejectedly. The lonely figure of the hero witnessed the disappearance of a king. Shui Wuxia did not stop the Ancient Demon King from leaving. Even Sky Execution, the Dragon Emperor, and the Emperor of the Underworld only watched as this expert, who had dominated Tong Tian Tower tens of thousands of years ago, retreated. Perhaps the Ancient Demon King, who had retired to hibernation, would wake up at some point in the future. He would continue to search for his body, or his divine body, and pursue greater power. However, one thing was certain. In Yu Yang's era, he would never appear again. Just like how he went into hibernation to avoid Emperor Wushuang, just like how he went into hibernation to avoid Conquest Queen Vivian Li, just like how he went into hibernation to avoid the powerful prison emperor. The Ancient Demon King once again fell into hibernation, because this was the era of Yu Yang. Compared to before, the Ancient Demon King who had retired to hibernation this time was even more lonely, especially Yu Yang, the peerless genius of the younger generation. He was very likely to open the gods' ruins successfully, and he had completely crushed the Ancient Demon King's will to dominate the world. Emperor Wushuang was sealed, so was Queen Vivian Li, and the prison emperor died in battle. However, none of this was likely to happen to Yu Yang. All the signs indicated that he was the seed that the Eastern Immortal Tribe had planted in Tong Tian Tower, a seed that would flourish and grow unstoppably, a seed that was destined to grow into a towering tree. No one said so, but the Ancient Demon King knew that his era had passed. Compared to the Heaven Empress and the Nine Brilliance King, the only fortunate thing was that he had not reached the end of the path of fighting with Yu Yang. Before Yu Yang grew into a towering tree, he still had the chance to retire to hibernation, unlike the Heaven Empress and the Nine Brilliance King, who had become Yu Yang's stepping stone and nutrients for his growth. Farewell, farewell, Tong Tian Tower. Perhaps this was the last time he would look back, because his era had passed before the Ancient Demon King entered the portal. He looked back and glanced at the crowd hugging and laughing. Then he left with heavy steps with loneliness. When he left, the Sky Execution, the Dragon Emperor, and the Underworld Emperor secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Although the Ancient Demon King was seriously injured, this senior expert was not someone to be trifled with. If it wasn't for Yu Yang, even Ji Zun and the Night Empress would not have been able to suppress this extremely intelligent and patient senior expert. Only at this moment did the battle truly come to an end. Everyone's grimoire floated in the air automatically. The light of leveling up and leveling up gathered together, forming a spectacular sight of dozens of light pillars shooting up to the sky. Holding the Book of Truth in her hand, Shui Wuxia, who had been standing in the battlefield, slowly closed her eyes and relaxed herself. She let her exhausted mind and body collapse in victory. Bang! The only thing that fell on the ground was the Book of Truth, which had also exhausted its energy. As for Shui Wuxia, she had already been hugged by someone else. It was Yu Yang. He looked at Shui Wuxia, who had opened her eyes weakly and smiled, letting her sleep peacefully before she lost consciousness. Hey, on your shoulder. Princess Sisai was also exhausted. Relying on the prison emperor divine sword support, she walked to Yu Yang's side and pressed her hand on Yu Yang's shoulder. Without waiting for Yu Yang to speak, she had already fainted and fell in front of him. Yu Yang hurriedly reached out his hands to support her delicate body, lifting this outwardly tough but inwardly soft tigress onto his shoulders. He reached out his hand to lightly pat her fragrant buttocks, and said to his lover, who was already asleep but still had a resolute look on his face, using a gentle tone that she had never heard before. "Tigress, you've worked hard. Let's go home." Chapter 757. The Black Hole Sealed Space. Queen Vivian Li was very angry. She felt that the 9 Light Clan's invasion of the Tong Tian Tower was a slap to her face. How dare the slave turn the tables on her? Especially when the Heaven Empress, who was even more respectful than a slave, dared to kill little Wen Li after recognizing her. This made her even angrier. She didn't have the chance to prove the 9 Light Clan's betrayal. She only had suspicions and killed the king and queen of the 9 Light Clan, who were secretly communicating with the Central Divine Realm. She didn't have time to kill the Heaven Empress, so she sealed the Heaven Empress in this black hole space. Hearing Yu Yang's words, she immediately realized that the 9 Light Clan might not be as simple as communicating with the Central Shrine. She didn't know that the Heaven Empress was the culprit who reported her. Otherwise, she would be even angrier. A lowly clan without roots. They have always depended on the strong to survive. If they didn't depend on the Tong Tian Tower, they would have been eliminated in the Heaven Realm. I didn't expect them to bully the Master and steal the secret treasure of the God's ruins. Damn it. Her Majesty Empress Fei Wen Li was unable to leave the black hole space. If she could leave this place, the entire Heaven Realm would be in chaos again. Empress Fei Wen Li suppressed the anger in her heart and comforted Yu Yang. "With the speed of your improvement, it is far beyond my expectations. Before long, you will be able to help me accumulate enough power to break through the black hole seal. At that time, we will join hands and sweep across the Heaven Realm again. Let's see who can stop us." The Central Shrine is just a pile of bones in a tomb. Now, let's let them be happy for a while. The Heaven Empress is dead, so is the 9 Light King. As long as I keep an eye on the space crack in the Guangming continent, the Tong Tian Tower will be safe for now. I don't have to worry about the God's ruins. Yu Yang pondered. We have won some time to cultivate. It's a pity that I don't know how to contract a divine grimoire. Otherwise, there would be a divine grimoire right in front of us. You can go in now? Queen Vivian Li was a little surprised. I haven't tried it yet, but it should work because I have mastered part of the power of law. It should be no problem for me to enter the golden shield of the divine grimoire. Yu Yang thought that if it didn't work, there was still Ice Song to help. Entering the outer barrier of the divine grimoire doesn't mean that one can touch the divine grimoire itself. Queen Vivian Li imparted many of her insights to Yu Yang, enlightening him. The power of the laws you control is too weak. You have to continue to strengthen it. You have to focus on the creation domain that you are proficient in. You have to reach the state where you are a god. You are everything. With a single thought, you can create a world. Although everyone's comprehension was different, the power of the laws they grasped was also different. However, advanced comprehension would always have an unexpected guiding effect for future generations. Due to the limitations of his realm, the current Yu Yang was still unable to comprehend the realm that Fei Wen Li had mentioned. He could only improve on his foundation, and was unable to comprehend the mysteries that Empress Fei Wen Li had comprehended from her realm. Even so, what he had obtained from Fei Wen Li was an indescribable benefit. If he were to comprehend it on his own, it might take several years, or even longer, to understand it. With the guidance of Queen Vivian Li, in just a few minutes, he had broken through the bottleneck of his cultivation for the next few years and leaped to a new realm that he had yet to enlighten, the divine grimoire. I think you should think more about it. It is not something that can be forced. Of course, you are a little special. It is also possible that you can obtain its recognition, but what we need to do is to cultivate pragmatically. As long as you have the will of the Divine Sovereign and the power of the Divine Sovereign, then you do not need the Divine Grimoire, do not need assistance, do not need any tools, and you can be like a god and do whatever you want. The most powerful thing in the world is not the Divine Grimoire, nor is it a divine weapon or a divine beast, but a godlike person, and it is your own body. Queen Vivian Li reached out and patted Yu Yang's shoulder. She smiled at him. Actually, you understand a lot of principles. However, I still have to say one more thing. I am afraid that you will think too much and easily take a detour. This is the bad thing about smart people. It is easy to get stuck in a dead end. Do you have anything to do after leaving this time? Are there any old friends in the heaven realm? Yu Yang was about to leave, but before he left, he remembered one thing. Back then, when Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li sealed it, her conquering army should not have completely dispersed. After 10,000 years, even if there were not many people left, it was not to the extent that there was no one left. Maybe there were still old friends. The Demon Abyss of Tong Tian Tower, the Snake Demon Clan, and many experts of the Demon Abyss had all moved to the Heaven Realm. In the beginning, they would occasionally return to Tong Tian Tower. After the battle between the Prison Emperor and the three great leaders, Tong Tian Tower and the Heaven Realm were blocked, and they gradually lost their records. Perhaps there was still the Snake Demon Clan and the experts of the Demon Abyss in the Heaven Realm. Yu Yang did not want to find these people as allies, but he felt that if he met an opponent in the Heaven Realm, it would be Fei Wen Li's old subordinates. When the two sides fought because they did not know each other, they would finally find out that it was the flood that washed away the Dragon King Temple. Yu Yang hoped to avoid that kind of embarrassing situation at all costs. That was why he mentioned it to Queen Vivian Li and asked her if there were any old friends he wanted to find. Queen Vivian Li frowned her golden eyebrows and thought for a while. In the past, there were too many subordinates. I can't explain them clearly. There were those who worked together for benefits, those who followed because of their reputation, and those who liked to be lively. There were many, but it was hard to say whether they were loyal or not. Some things could not be proven without the test of time, just like the Nine Light Clan. In the future, you'll be the leader. Even if you kill the wrong person, it doesn't matter. Who asked them to become your enemy? Queen Vivian Li's attitude towards Yu Yang was naturally different from her previous subordinates. Yu Yang, this little fellow, was Little Wen Li's father. He was an existence that formed a blood contract with her soul. I will ask around in the Heaven Realm. Yu Yang naturally knew Fei Wen Li's attitude. However, he felt that there were some unnecessary battles. It would be best if they could be avoided. Now that you mention it, I remember a candidate. Queen Vivian Li smiled. She seemed to have thought of something funny in the past, and a smile bloomed on her face. After a while, she relaxed and gently pressed her jade-like hand on Yu Yang's shoulder. You can find someone to help you. That guy is a coward. On the battlefield, he always bullies the weak and fears the strong. He especially looks for the weakest opponents. He is even worse than that Fatty Hai you mentioned. However, there is one thing about him that is similar to Fatty Hai, who is very loyal to you. That is, he is very loyal to me. When I was crossing the boundless ocean in the 10th floor of Tong Tian Tower, I met him who was a pirate. After I beat him up, he decided to give up the great profession of being a pirate and join my team to go to the Heaven Realm with me. I have always brought him along to kill our way to the Heaven Realm. He could be considered as an old official who has always been by my side. He is my companion from the Tong Tian Tower. If he did not die in battle, he would have established his own faction. Only he is willing to follow me. When Yu Yang asked for this guy's name, Queen Vivian Li replied that it was Little C. Little C? What kind of lousy name was this? Queen Vivian Li laughed and explained. His original name is Cook Caribbean. Because he is good at pirate sword skills, he always draws a C-shaped arc. Although his combat skills are effective, they look very fancy, so everyone calls him Little C and forgets the name Cook. How does this Cook Caribbean look like? Of course, Yu Yang couldn't call an old guy from 10,000 years ago Little C. He likes to wear pirate clothes. He wears an iron hook on his left hand, a captain's hat on his head, and he wears colorful clothes. All right, he also likes to wear an eye patch and a mustache. As for his appearance, he looks like he deserves a beating. Queen Vivian Li's description made Yu Yang sweat profusely. Although he didn't spend much time in the Heaven Realm, Yu Yang really didn't know such a strong person in the Heaven Realm. He hoped that Cook Caribbean, who looked like he deserved a beating, wouldn't let anyone die. 10,000 years had passed. Fei Wen Li and Yu Yang didn't really care about going to the Heaven Realm to look for old friends. They felt that it was just a matter of trying their luck. After all, it had been too long and there were too many variables. The chances of finding old friends were very small. Besides, the Heaven Realm was too big. If those strong people who had followed Fei Wan Li to battle went into seclusion, where would they find them? Before leaving the black hole space, in order to raise little Wan Li's strength, Queen Vivian Li specially taught her. Her way of teaching was very simple, but it was effective. Queen Vivian Li was like Sister Xingyang. She directly passed on her battle knowledge to little Wan Li's brain. Of course, the inheritance was only for little Wan Li's battle skills, to be like the sea of knowledge that Sister Xingyang had passed on to Yu Yang. The current little Wan Li simply couldn't bear the power of that kind of inheritance. Queen Vivian Li, who focused on battle, was also not good at that kind of knowledge inheritance. In terms of inheritance, she only used her finger to touch little Wan Li's forehead and shared it with her for a second, and it was done. Little Wan Li turned into a colorful light and returned to Yu Yang's body to sleep, slowly digesting and receiving. Little Wan Li's guardian beasts, Stone Element Medusa, Storm Mermaid, Thunder Naga, and Ice Serpent Demon, had fought for a long time, and Fei Wan Li felt that their strength was not enough, directly affecting little Wan Li's growth, as well as Yu Yang's safety. Therefore, she specially gave each of them a drop of blood. Although it was just a drop of blood, this was also something that Queen Vivian Li had spent a lot of effort to condense. Compared to God's blood, her blood was more suitable for the Medusa's growth. When Fei Wan Li bit her index finger and dripped blood from Stone Element Medusa, Storm Mermaid, Thunder Naga, and Ice Serpent Demon's mouths, the four guardian beasts immediately erupted with an aura that was even more exaggerated than when red fused with God's blood. The scales on their bodies shattered, and their skin continuously peeled off. After fusing with this God's blood, they were quickly reborn, and each of them erupted with a supreme will and dazzling brilliance that was close to that of a divine beast. It's a pity that I'm still in a weak state, and the energy in my blood is not very abundant. Otherwise, the four of them would have made greater progress. Queen Vivian Li sighed with a little disappointment. Yu Yang blushed with shame after hearing this. One must know that he had used all his efforts to cultivate them. Now it seemed that what he had done was not even comparable to a drop of Fei Wan Li's blood. Hold on for a while longer. I will definitely bring you out. Yu Yang actually did not want Fei Wan Li to waste her blood energy to improve her beasts. What he wanted to do the most was to bring her out of this black hole. Don't worry, I have already waited for 10,000 years. I don't mind waiting for a few more years. Queen Vivian Li happily hugged Yu Yang and gave him a loud kiss. When Stone Element Medusa and the others turned into colorful lights and returned to the grimoire world, Yu Yang also took his leave. Queen Vivian Li was sleeping when she suddenly felt happy for nothing. It feels good to have a man to rely on. Chapter 758. When Yu Yang returned to the Rainbow Castle, he found a bunch of refugees who were even more miserable than beggars, lying on the ground in disorder. After identifying them for a long time, he realized that they were Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others. Seeing that Yu Yang had returned. Originally, Yi Kong and the others were a little proud. Because Yu Yang didn't make any arrangements, they had defeated Shun Tian and the others' conspiracy. In the fierce battle, Shuetan Lang killed the 1,000 Goblin King's last clone, the Marquis of Zijin. Yi Kong and Prince of Tian Luo joined hands to kill the Black Prince who was trying to escape. Lu Yi, Bao Er, and the Li brothers, Feng Qi Sha, Yin Pujun, and Yu Ting, with the help of the old dragon turtle and the hybrid fishmen brought by Xia Yi, annihilated the Guangming Continent Senate. They even forced the 1,000 Goblin sect leader to surrender. You guys are not dead yet? Impatience's surprised tone made Yi Kong and the others, who were secretly proud, cry. If it wasn't for our quick rescue, they would have entered the Martyr Wu Shrine. Southern Demon King snorted with a little dissatisfaction. Pig-like brains. Long ago, we said that when we meet danger, we should bring our team members to the entrance of the Prison Emperor Divine Palace, because that is the forbidden area that the enemy is most unwilling to step into. But they, each and every one of them, wanted to be heroes and stay behind to fight the enemy. Otherwise, why would they be so injured? Grand Aunt, I was wrong. I'm a pig. Please don't say anymore. Yikong quickly begged for mercy. At first, he didn't understand. Only later did he understand. Yu Yang didn't feel despair, but he wanted his team members to learn to think during the battle. If everyone had thought of this from the beginning, they wouldn't have waited for Shun Tian and the others to surround them and quickly retreated to the old dragon turtle's side. Of course, this understanding came too late. When Xia Yi brought the hybrid fishmen, Shark King, Chong Yan'ai, and the other innate rankers who took the initiative to help, and when the Southern Demon King appeared with the Eastern Goblin Tribe's rankers, the battle was already over. Luckily, Xue Tianlang and Fatty Hai had stronger vitality than cockroaches. Otherwise, they would definitely be dead. Xue Tianlang and the Marquis of Zijin's battle had caused the most serious injuries. In the beginning, the Marquis of Zijin, who had the power of an innate level 8, overwhelmed Xue Tianlang in terms of strength and experience. When he was on the verge of death, he heavily injured Xue Tianlang, who had sunk to the bottom of the Black Lake, and used his guardian beast, Storm Giant, to fuse with the Thunder Beast. In the end, he was so lucky that the fusion that even Yu Yang felt was difficult to succeed had actually succeeded. His guardian beast had fused with a mutated Wind Thunder Beast that had reached Heaven Stage. With the help of the Heaven Stage beast Thunder Wind Beast, Xue Tianlang made a great counterattack. The last strike had completely pierced through the Marquis of Jin's demon heart. He had won the battle to the death. If Xue Tianlang, who had a dozen broken ribs, arm bones, and collarbones, and was bandaged like a dumpling, was lucky enough to successfully merge with the Thunder Beast and win the battle, then Fatty Hai's victory over the strongest Shun Tian was truly inconceivable to everyone. God knows how Fatty Hai managed to survive Shun Tian's attack. Everyone only knew that Shun Tian had driven Fatty Hai crazy with anger. What did Fatty Hai say to Shun Tian to make the strong-willed and powerful Shun Tian go mad? This was a mystery. When Yikong dragged his injured body and rushed to the Rainbow Castle to look for Fatty Hai, he found a pile of rotten meat or rubbish. It was Fatty Hai, and what was even more miraculous was that he was still alive. All the beasts, King Kong Rhinoceros, Little Hippopotamus, Thunder Mammoth, and so on were all in a state of near death. Only the Wind Breath Seabird was still standing by his side. This is a miracle. Yu Yang used the tone of a leader of the Celestial Empire's Wang Yongping to praise Fatty Hai and the others' unbelievable battle achievements and vitality. Fatty Hai might be one of the legendary water demons that could still survive even after being chopped into shreds. Southern Demon King was very suspicious. It can't be. Originally, Yikong wanted to deny it, but seeing that Fatty Hai, this pile of rotten meat, was still alive, he didn't dare to affirm it. He could only help Yu Yang. Isn't Fatty Hai the young master of the Hai family? Originally, his secret potential was not to be a water demon, but maybe I saw wrongly. Yu Yang's answer made everyone speechless. Fatty, is this meaty mountain demon king really a water demon? It's too scary. Bao Air casually gave the unconscious Fatty Hai a nickname. This meaty mountain demon king was even more catchy and vivid than the cheap fat demon king in the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower. For a moment, everyone tacitly agreed that the meaty mountain demon king would be Fatty Hai from now on. Really? Only the pure Lu Yi would take the inference that Fatty Hai was a water demon king seriously. I don't care if you believe it or not. I believe it anyway. Yu Yang imitated the tone and movements of a leader of the Celestial Empire's Wang Yongping, shook his head, and said proudly, "Damn, his actions caused everyone to be thunderstruck. Even Yu, who was usually the most tolerant, gently patted Yu Yang's head and rewarded him with a roll of her eyes." With Yu and Anna consuming a lot of spiritual power to heal, and Sickly Beauty and Yu Yang working together to make the 5 Elements Recovery Rune Array, everyone's injuries were healed very quickly. Of course, the most important thing was that almost everyone had improved after the battle. It also had a good recovery effect on the body that had been overdrawn in the battle. Yu Yang did not return to the Rainbow Castle to rest as usual. Instead, he hugged the still sleeping Princess Sisai and sat in the small garden with everyone to chat. Xue Wuxia pillowed on his lap and slept quietly. She was like the most beautiful sleeping princess in the world. That small white jade hand was still holding the Book of Truth. City Lord Fallen Flowers snuggled up behind Yu Yang, enjoying the relaxing massage given by the Snow Fox girl. Beside Yu Yang, Inan and Yu Bing were hugging each other. They, who had been interrupting each other, had unknowingly fallen asleep. Impatience and Fourth Mother were playing chess. Southern Demon King, on the other hand, used her white orchid-like fingers to play the pipa. The melody was leisurely and hypnotic. In the lullaby, Shuang, the usually active little girl, did not play hide-and-seek with the little panda girl Nyonyo. Instead, she obediently sat beside her mother, secretly eating a candy bean, and then secretly handed her little hand back to share it with the little panda girl Nyonyo. Nyonyo was far less daring than her. She first waved her hand, but Shuang insisted that she eat it. Nyonyo glanced at her mother, Drunken Cat, then turned to look at Yu Yang. She found that he was not looking at her. She quickly threw the candy bean in her mouth, but did not dare to chew or cheer. She secretly shared it with Shuang. When the adults looked over, she pretended to be looking at the butterflies chasing each other in the sky. However, she didn't know that her bulging cheeks had long been exposed. If it was any other time, Fourth Mother and Drunken Cat would have scolded them. Today, however, was an exception. They smiled tolerantly and pretended not to see, letting these two little greedy cats go. A little further away, Raging Flame and Hyene Wu were drinking. According to Raging Flame's words, drinking was the best way to heal. Yi Kong and the Li brothers, who were seriously injured, politely declined this kind of healing method. Drinking crazily while injured was simply courting death. The only one who accompanied her to drink was Hyene Wu, the female Ocean Emperor who was not injured and could drink a lot. Of course, Hyene Wu had a 3,000-year-old bright god meteor fall pearl that could not get drunk after 1,000 cups. Otherwise, she would not dare to drink with Raging Flame, the female giant. At their feet, the Oxhead fan Luan Tai and the four orc girls were all completely drunk. You can only drink when your injuries are healed. Feng Qi Sha and the others, who were lightly injured, were extremely greedy. However, they were intimidated by the two doctors, Anna and Yu Yu, so they did not dare to secretly drink. They lay on the ground with a bitter face and counted the stars. "We are fine. You don't have to trouble yourselves." Yi Kong, Tian Luo Wang, and the others all rejected Yu Yu and the others' healing. There were many injured people, and Yu Yu and the others had already overdrawn their mental power. They did not want them to be too tired while they could still support themselves. Moreover, warriors who had the willpower to endure their injuries alone would improve much more than those who were healed by others in the future. Yi Kong, Tian Luo Prince, and the Li clan brothers decided to be strict with themselves, starting from every small thing. Yu Yu did not force them, and gave Yu Yang a martial arts pill, focusing on healing Shui Tan Lang, who had all his bones broken, and Fatty Hai, who was still unconscious. Other than the occasional soft conversation, there were occasional sounds. The whole little garden seemed exceptionally peaceful at this time. The night was as cool as water, and the moonlight shone brightly. The half-elf little Nu Geo tiptoed out with a snow-white blanket and gently covered Yu Yang's body. In battle, she could not help Yu Yang, but in life, she could do her part and take care of him. Yu Yang stretched the blanket and gently covered City Mistress Fallen Flowers' body. Although his action was light, it caused her to wake up from her half-sleep. She opened her eyes and saw that it was him, and instantly a sweet smile blossomed on her face. She turned her face and kissed him quietly when no one was paying attention. Her lips were abnormally soft, as if she was afraid that if she kissed him hard, the happiness in her heart would overflow. Shui Wuxia seemed to feel uncomfortable in her sleep. She turned slightly and changed her direction, looking for a more comfortable position on Yu Yang's thigh. Afraid that she would wake up, City Mistress Fallen Flowers and Yu Yang stopped kissing. Their lips waited quietly, waiting for her to continue her sleep. Then they smiled at each other and kissed again. Sickly Beauty checked the 5 elements rune circle again. When she came back, she found that the two were secretly kissing, so she deliberately coughed lightly. When their lips separated, she looked at her and revealed a mischievous smile that was not usually seen. City Mistress Fallen Flowers waved her hand and let the sickly beauty sit beside her. She pointed at her red lips and pointed at Yu Yang. She asked her to kiss Yu Yang and share the sweetness of this moment with her. However, she smiled and refused to kiss Yu Yang in front of everyone. She was the most qualified wife in the world of the two of them, but in front of others she was always shy. However, Luo Hua's city mistress suddenly kissed her on the lips, causing the sickly beauty to feel extremely embarrassed. However, it wasn't convenient for him to criticize her, so he could only endure it. When he saw that Luo Hua's city mistress had kissed her lips and kissed Yu Yang's, he immediately became even more bashful. He helplessly rolled his eyes at these two shameless people. Because she turned around, the Book of Truth fell into the soft flowers. Sickly Beauty reached out and gently picked it up. She casually opened a page and turned her face to look at Yu Yang. She revealed a mischievous look that was not usually seen. Her big blinking eyes seemed to be asking, "Do I look like Wu Xia?" Other than her hairstyle and temperament, her appearance was almost exactly the same as Shui Wuxia. Now that he was holding the Book of Truth, Yu Yang was in a daze for a while. He lost himself and leaned forward. Sickly Beauty was not as bold as City Mistress Fallen Flowers. She did not dare to kiss him and only let him touch her little face. Even so, she was so embarrassed that she didn't dare to look at anyone. She buried her head into his embrace. Of course, no one paid attention to this side. Everyone was resting quietly under the starry night sky. There was no excitement at all. Even Bao who loved to play around, had gone to bed early. Lu Yi and Xia Yi lay beside her and whispered quietly. They had endless topics to talk about, and from time to time, a quiet smile appeared on their faces. After an unknown period of time, Princess Sisai opened her eyes. She found herself lying in Yu Yang's arms, like a baby being hugged by him. She was a little stunned at first. Then she slightly wrapped the blanket around her body and changed into a more comfortable sleeping position. When Yu Yang looked over, she immediately stared at him with her red tigress eyes. "Pervert, did you do anything?" If Yu Yang was not a guy from another world and had never heard of the jokes of beasts and worse than beasts, he would probably be stumped by her questions. Girls were strange creatures born with contradictions. If Yu Yang was a big pervert and honestly answered that he touched her, he would definitely be criticized by Princess Sisai. Calling him a pervert would be a light punishment, and she might even raise her fist to punch him. If Yu Yang wanted to be a gentleman and answered that he was very obedient and didn't touch her, then Princess Sisai would definitely be very disappointed. She would say who would believe that, and she would be even angrier because she was not charming enough. Fortunately, Yu Yang's skill in picking up girls had already reached a certain level. He smiled when he heard it. His smile was very pure as he replied, "Why don't you guess?" Princess Sisai's jade face instantly turned red. Other than glaring at him, she realized that she really couldn't do anything to him since she was wrapped in the blanket. In the end, she opened her cherry lips, revealing her little canine teeth. "Let me bite you otherwise." Yu Yang lowered his head and used his lips to block her words. After an unknown period of time, Princess Sisai, who could not hold her breath anymore, finally broke free from Yu Yang's battle of tongues. "Hey, don't push your luck. Quickly take your hand out." "Yes, Your Highness." Yu Yang's action was the opposite. His other wolfish claw also dug into the blanket. "I'm going to be angry. I'm really going to be angry." At this moment, Princess Sisai didn't look like Tigress at all. Instead, she looked like a weak girl who couldn't stand being bullied and humiliated. Her fake angry expression was very alluring. I'm very scared." Yu Yang cooperated and made a very scared expression, making Princess Sisai so angry that she really wanted to bite him. Chapter 759, Western Heaven Realm. Shihi Territory, Spirit Cloud Country, Rizhao City, Heaven Realm Gate. Guarding the Heaven Realm Gate was an extremely boring thing, especially as a Heaven ranker. Guarding the Heaven Realm Gate that opened once in 100 years was simply the most painful thing in the world. Even a fool would know that although the Heaven Realm Gate opened once every 100 years, because the space-time passage had already been shattered, not to mention how powerful the seal's power was, the extremely chaotic space-time vortex could easily tear a Heaven Ranker to pieces. In the thousands of years of war with Tong Tian Tower, there had never been a warrior from the lower realms who broke through the Heaven Realm Gate. As a duty officer who had been guarding for 1,000 years, Tu Wang had almost forgotten about Tong Tian Tower. If it wasn't for the Spirit Cloud King's instructions, if it wasn't for the order of Rizhao City Lord Tu Hai, Tu Wang's elder brother Tu Wang, who had the strength of Heaven's stage, would not have wasted 1,000 years here. Forget about Tong Tian Tower. Are there any new people joining in the other lower realms for us to collect taxes? Tu Wang asked his subordinates weakly as he drank the Rizhao wine that he was sick of. The Rizhao wine was extremely famous in the Spirit Cloud country. Together with the luminous wine of the luminous country, they were known as the two great wines of the Shihi territory, which were hard to find outside. However, even if it was a high-grade wine, the taste would not change after drinking it for 1,000 years. Even an idiot with taste buds will be tired of it. At least Tu Wang was like this. Sir, there is no response from the lower realms of Tong Tian Tower. The three lower realms of Hun Yuan, Hui Feng, and Qinghua have not had any new people joining in for a few months. Not only is the Heaven Realm Gate calm, even the other teleportation arrays in the lower realms have no signs of activation. The guard captain stretched and reported respectfully. Boring, it's too boring. Tu Wang was exceptionally disappointed. The original routine was to use the identity of a Heaven Stage ranker and the power of the duty officer to suppress the warriors from the lower realms in order to find some fun in the long duty career. Such a wish could not be realized. Sometimes Tu Wang had thought that a few young people with good strength would emerge from Tong Tian Tower. They would work hard to break through the power of the seal, narrowly escaping death into the space-time vortex, and weakly arrive in front of him. However, before they could catch their breath, he would grab them one by one and throw them back into the space-time vortex. Report. Just as Tu Wang was preparing to follow his usual routine of playing with a woman after getting drunk and then falling asleep, there was a guard on duty outside, and he hurried in. He reported loudly, Lord, there's a group of martial artists in a flying car coming towards the gate of heaven from the direction of Rizhao City. At first, he thought that there would be business. But when he heard that it was someone from the direction of Rizhao City and not a newcomer from the mortal world or a martial artist from the Tong Tian Tower, he sighed in boredom. Sigh, I might be the unluckiest person in the entire Lingyan kingdom. If it wasn't for the fact that I was in a hurry to make a contribution that year and took the initiative to stand up and request to guard this damn Heaven Realm Gate, I'm afraid I would have been the city lord long ago. Grumbling to himself, he decided to go out and take a look. If the intruder was a martial artist who had snuck into the Heaven Realm before the Tong Tian Tower and was looking for an opportunity to return to the Tong Tian Tower, he would have to alert Sunshine City immediately. Of course, that kind of thing would never happen, because in the past 1,000 years, no one in Tong Tian Tower had ever thought of returning to Tong Tian Tower. It was just like a commoner in the countryside. After entering the city, would he still be willing to return to his hometown? Even if there was, it would be very few. In the past 1,000 years, Tu Wang had never seen a fool who returned to the mortal world. Moreover, even if there was a martial artist who longed to return to Tong Tian Tower, he would also be the target of public criticism. He would have long been surrounded and killed by the experts of the Heaven Realm. It was impossible for him to come here. The Heaven Realm's Gate was originally a bustling city. It was originally connected to Tong Tian Tower. Countless merchants opened shops and businesses here. Countless mercenaries searched for opportunities here. Countless Heaven Realm warriors came here enviously. After the war, the city became a ruin. Other than the families of those who died in the war, some descendants who wanted to pay their respect to their ancestors, they would travel thousands of miles to come here. Otherwise, there would not be a single outsider here for months. A group of people came down from the luxurious and beautiful flying car. The strength of these people was not considered high. The more outstanding ones were Earth rank level 7. Most of them were below Earth rank level 5, and there were even super weak people who had not reached Earth rank. The only thing that Tu Wong could not see through was a man wearing a platinum-ranked mask in this group. This masked man seemed to be very weak, not even at Earth rank. However, he seemed to be very strong, close to Heaven rank. He was the only person in the entire group that Tu Wong could not see through. Of course, no matter how strong this group was, Tu Wong did not dare to offend them. It seemed that 90% of them were descendants who came to worship their ancestors. 99% of the descendants of the experts who had fought here came from powerful families or famous sections. Just from the luxurious flying car they rented, they knew that these young people were young and rich, not ordinary adventuring mercenaries. If they did not have some family power, it would be impossible for them to pass through Rizhao City and come to the Heaven Realm Gate. The clever guard captain stretched his arms and went up to ask. After a while, he reported the news to Tu Wong. Sure enough, these young people were from the southern Heaven Realm Tua Yi Wong, a famous disciple of the Emerald Territory Nightless City. In the process of learning, they came to worship the seniors who had died in the war. The captain of their team was the masked man called Third Young Master Yu. Tu Wong guessed that this third young master Yu was either the third young master of a big family or the son of a certain lord. An ordinary city lord's son would not dare to call himself third young master. Moreover, the special platinum mask on his face was not a treasure that ordinary people could have. In this team, it was not only the third young master who had outstanding treasures. Even the fatty who seemed to have just recovered from his injuries, the tall and skinny man with a pair of eagle-like eyes, and the ice cube man whose arm was still wrapped in bandages, had treasures that were at least gold-ranked and above. Standing in front of the team was a handsome young man who called himself Tian Luo. This beautiful young man's manner was noble and elegant, refined and polite. At first glance, it was obvious that he was from an extraordinary family. He was not an ordinary country farmer or crude mercenary. In terms of external communication, he and the fat man who was smiling cheekily were fully responsible. The masked man, on the other hand, did not care. As soon as he opened his mouth, the usually arrogant guard captain relaxed and nodded his head like a pug. Withdrawing his gaze from the secret, Tu Wong shook his head. This group of people was not suspicious. It was just that there were a few beautiful women in their team. Tu Wong secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Forget it, this is definitely a hot potato. If I get carried away for a moment, it will bring about a fatal disaster. It must be known that the previous officer on duty was delusional enough to flirt with the beautiful women who came to worship the ancestors. As a result, he provoked the thunderous rage of the other party's backing. In the end, he killed himself in front of the Spirit Cloud King and sent gifts to apologize to the other party. Every year, there were no less than 100 beautiful women from different races sent from Rizhao City. Why would he bring trouble to himself if he wanted to play with them? Tu Wong suppressed the desire in his heart and waved his hand to order the guard captain to accompany the other party for the whole journey. He himself went back to continue his drunken life. Accompanying this group of people to explore the ruins, the guard captain stretched his arms and asked with a little flattery and a little curiosity, "Distinguished and extraordinary guests, the tomb here is the place where the glorious mad storm king died in battle, and it was erected by his descendants. Your ancestors must have been as great and glorious as the Wild Racer King, right? No, I mean your ancestors must be even greater, especially great." In the process of inquiring, he saw that the other party showed an indifferent and arrogant look when they heard about the crazy Beast King. He was immediately shocked. My goodness, these people's ancestors actually surpassed the crazy Beast King who was ranked in the top 100. He quickly corrected himself, deeply afraid that the other party would be angry. "You, how can you say that it is especially great?" The fat man retorted discontentedly. Yes, please speak. Let me listen to the glory of our distinguished guests' ancestors." The guard captain quickly pretended to be listening attentively. "Our ancestors, how can you say that they are especially great? They are quite great. The fat man, who looked like he was asking for a beating, said something that almost killed the guard captain. Idiot. Definitely an idiot among the idiots. There's an ancestor who is even greater than the crazy beast king, but the descendants are all earth rank. Not a single one is heaven rank. Isn't this too miserable? The guard captain Shu Zhan mocked the fat man maliciously in his heart. However, he could also understand that if one reached the heaven rank, he probably wouldn't come to worship his ancestors. He must be the lord of a city and have endless things to do. Only these family disciples with insufficient strength would come out to study and show off their family background. If it was a heaven rank, they would usually emphasize themselves and not their ancestors. Because of this interruption, the guard captain Shu Zhan no longer had the chance to inquire about the other party's ancestors. The more he spoke, the more mistakes he would make. He felt that it was best to listen to the other party with a smile. In these hundreds of years, the guard captain had changed batch after batch. Shu Zhan, who was good at listening to the star officer's nagging, had always stayed here. Although there was no future here, he could still fish for some benefits. If he served the family disciples who came to worship their ancestors, they might even reward him with something. Also, the newcomers who came to the heaven realm, in order to smoothly enter the heaven realm, were also willing to accept his extortion. If it was any other place, Shu Zhan, who was only in Earth rank level 5, guaranteed that others wouldn't even look at him. This group of people were not like other worshippers. They seemed to have no clear purpose. It was estimated that they did not come to worship in the name of their family, but because they couldn't find the location of their ancestors' battle. Only in the process of visiting one by one, according to Shu Zhan's introduction of the glorious battle, and knowing the list of the sacrificed, did they line up and bow to pay their respects to their ancestors. The guard captain Shu Zhan was secretly shocked because the number of people in this group was not a lot, but their family composition was very mixed, obviously not from the same family. Among the number of times they bowed to their ancestors, the guard captain Shu Zhan secretly counted. This group of people had sacrificed their ancestors here. There were already more than 10 people. From this, it could be seen that their ancestors really had an exceptionally glorious and prosperous period and could not be underestimated. This time it was a last-minute decision. I came in a hurry. I did not have time to prepare the things for the sacrifice. And because there's an urgent matter, I need to go to Rizhao City to deal with it. I can't stay for long. The young man, who called himself Tian Luo, asked the guard captain Shu Zhan to make up for the various sacrifices. Of course, it is Shu Zhan's honor to be able to serve the distinguished guest. The guard captain Shu Zhan took the money bag that the fat man casually threw over and felt that it was heavy. Suddenly, a smile blossomed on his face. When the group of people left on the car, Shu Zhan opened the money bag, took a look, and exclaimed, "God, I really deserve to die. Just now I actually bowed to a group of rich young masters again and again to thank them. I am too rude. I think even the heavens will blame me." The drunken Tu Wang also made the impatient guard captain Shu Zhan call out. As soon as he heard, he immediately exclaimed, "What did you say? 100,000 gold?" The guard captain Shu Zhan respectfully replied, "Yes, in addition to tipping this lowly 100 gold, that group of rich young masters also offered Darren 100,000 gold, all stored in an unrecorded card. Their only request is for Darren to personally hold a sacrificial ceremony for their ancestors." Not waiting for Shu Zhan to finish, Tu Wang immediately sobered up from his drunken stupor and asked, "Will they come back?" "Maybe. I seem to have heard that fat young master say that he still wants to come back to see." The guard captain Shu Zhan did not dare to confirm. "Damn, I am too rude. I should not have gone to sleep. You should have also reminded me. When they come next time, all of you must prepare to welcome these distinguished guests together with me. You must know that they are the glorious descendants of the martyrs. They are worthy of our respect. God, my total income here for more than 100 years is not even this much money. I actually missed this group of rich young masters who casually throw away money. I should have thought of it long ago, wearing a platinum-ranked mask at all times and having gold-ranked weapons as followers. How could they be the disciples of ordinary families, Sai? I am really stupid. Tu Wong muttered to himself, feeling sorry for himself. In the carriage 10 kilometers away, Fatty High's heart was still bleeding. However, in order to return to the Heaven Realm Gate and carry out the plan that Yu Yang and Shui Wuxia had agreed on, he had no choice but to bear with the pain and bribe the other party with a large sum of money. He turned back to look at the Heaven Realm Gate, raised his fist. Just you wait, this money, when this young master comes back, I will definitely take it back with interest. Yu Yang did not care about the money he spent. To him, if a problem could be solved with money, then it was not a problem. Just now at the ruins of the Heaven Realm Gate, he had left behind a small level 1 life puppet with no combat power. When the plan was carried out, he could use the 3-realm compass to return to the Heaven Realm Gate at any time. Of course, his main task now was to collect the list of the old dragon turtle's companions who had died in battle. At the Heaven Realm Gate, he would engrave the names of the rankers of Tong Tian Tower and the prison emperor's subordinates as a kind of glory, and engrave all of them on the sealing tablet. He believed that when the old dragon turtle saw the long list of his companions written by Yu Yang, he would definitely cry. Chapter 760. Rizhao City. In less than 3 hours, Yu Yang and the others arrived at Rizhao City, which was hundreds of kilometers away. This was a large city, different from ordinary cities. The cross-shaped main road divided Rizhao City into 4 parts. The east-west direction was close to 50 kilometers. The north-south direction was slightly shorter, but it was also 20 kilometers. Outside the city, there was a circular wall that was 20 meters high. Except for the 4 huge city gates, there was no exit. If one looked down from the sky, they would see a super wide road. The road from east to west was actually 1 kilometer wide. The north-south road was also 400 meters wide. Rizhao City was a strategic city built for war. It was built 10,000 years ago when Fei Wenli conquered the queen and expanded 6,000 years ago when the prison emperor was in power. However, the queen who swept through the Heaven Realm had already been sealed. The fierce battle between the Western Heaven Realm's 3 great leaders and the prison emperor had also become a historical memory. Today's Rizhao City was no longer a strategic base where thousands of troops gathered. It had become a remote but relatively prosperous mountain city. It was surrounded by valleys, and the huge city in the middle was currently home to millions of people. The people here were relatively rich. They relied on the rich mineral resources in the surrounding mountains to live a carefree life. Because of the many wars 10,000 years ago and 6,000 years ago, many special magical beasts were born around Rizhao City, which had been affected by the residual power of the strong. It also attracted many adventurers, mercenaries, and merchants who came from far away to hunt. Don't you guys want to go down and play? Fatty High desperately invited everyone out to play, patting his chest, indicating that he would treat them this time. Forget it, I don't think I can pull a hair off a cheapskate. Yi Kong and Fatty High were mortal enemies, natural enemies. What he said was right. Although Fatty High repeatedly promised and even swore that he would treat everyone to a trip to the Heaven Realm for the sake of his character, the person who really paid was still Yu Yang. This was because before Fatty High left, he borrowed 1 million gold from Yu Yang. Yi Kong didn't think that Fatty High would pay it back, nor did he think that he had the ability to pay it back. Instead, he thought that Fatty High would spend it all and then borrow from Yu Yang. Fatty High was always the most generous when it came to spending other people's money. As a matter of fact, he was going to treat everyone to a big meal in Rizhao City. Monkey, I'm warning you. We might be close, but I can still sue you for slander. This young master has already turned over a new leaf and is ready to become a good person. No, I was originally a good person. Now I just changed into a generous good person. Brothers and sisters, I will pay for the expenses of Rizhao City with my own money. I will personally treat everyone to a trip. Everyone, don't be polite. In the process of eating, drinking, and playing, I don't ask for the most economical, but I ask for the most enjoyable. Everyone, feel free to spend as much as you want. As a boss, in order to save up an unparalleled character, I'm going all out today. If Fatty High didn't say it, everyone wouldn't have known that he still had a private stash of money. This This is what you mean by not seeking the most frugal, but seeking the most satisfying activity funds? Bauer took the shriveled wallet and saw that there were only a few gold coins inside. She immediately felt dizzy. I can't help it. I haven't been able to save up my private stash ever since it was confiscated last time. Fatty Hai scratched his head in embarrassment. No wonder you were so generous. Yi Kong and the others suddenly understood. If you want to play, then go down and take a walk. It's good for you to experience it. Hui Tai Lang, you are in charge of the protection. Yu Yang was the real god of wealth. He gave Lu Yi 3,000 gold coins in one go. Even in Rizhao City, where materials were expensive, 3,000 gold coins was enough to fill the whole team to death. Woof! Hui Tai Lang immediately accepted the order. His master had given him the heavy responsibility of protection. This was a good opportunity to make a contribution. He had to do it well, no matter what. Let's go. Fatty Hai quickly took the money pouch when Lu Yi declined. He cheered and jumped off the flying car. The figure of the Meat Mountain Demon King had officially arrived in Rizhao City. We're not going. Shui Tan Lang, the Li brothers, and the others were all training maniacs. They had no interest in playing. In their eyes, the best way to play in the Heaven Realm was to sweep through everything like Empress Fei when Li did in the past. That was more interesting. Of course, with their strength, this kind of goal could not be achieved even in their dreams. In order to chase after their dreams, they spent more time on training and did not want to waste this good time. Prince Tian Luo was influenced by them and was now working hard. There were 4 carriages on the luxurious flying car. Each carriage was 15 meters long. Even if the whole team was there was enough space for them to train quietly. The Golden Elves Lin and his wife did not go down to play. They were more distressed about the few Pegasi that were pulling the carriage. In fact, the luxurious flying car was a large flying puppet that could hover in the air. It did not need Pegasi to pull it and could fly automatically. Moreover, it was not like the river crab train of the Celestial Empire. This one would never derail. Even if it fell from the sky, there was an anti-gravity device to protect the passengers. These few Pegasi that were responsible for pulling the carriage were equivalent to decorations for the rich. The Pegasi that were forced to fly continuously in front of the luxurious flying car for several hours were a little tired. Fortunately, they met the Lin and his wife, the Golden Elves who had a natural liking for Pegasi, so they were taken care of. If it was Fatty Hai, he would still want to ride a Pegasi to show off his power. Anyway, this was a luxurious carriage rented in the Ling Yun Kingdom. He had to return it later, otherwise the deposit would be deducted. It would be a waste not to ride it. Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai continued to follow Night Empress, and Ji Zun to continue their training. Inan, Yu Bing, Raging Flame, and Drunken Cat were also comprehending at the gate of life and death. They did not participate in the Heaven Realm trip this time. On the other hand, Yi was pulled up by Yu Yang. However, she preferred to stay in the grimoire world and help Yu Yang organize various items. She did not show her face outside. Yu Yang sat in the first carriage of the luxurious carriage. According to his memory, he drew the various designs he saw at the gate of Heaven Realm. If he hadn't drawn it out, he wouldn't know. But once he had completed more than half of the drawing, he realized that the tombs of the Heaven Realm rankers had formed a huge battle formation. It resonated with the 3 teleportation circles at the edge of the Heaven Realm gate, locking the Heaven Realm gate completely. Moreover, Yu Yang also speculated that there must be a huge rune formation underground. Once a warrior invaded, it could be activated quickly. In addition to sounding the alarm, it could also suppress or even seal the intruders. Yu Yang was studying the Heaven Realm gate. Red was massaging his shoulders lightly with her small hands, just like a gentle wife taking care of her lover. Fatty Hai, who was worried about Yi Kong, brought Fan Luan Tai, Lu Yi, Xia Yi, Bao Er, and the 4 orc girls, guarded by Hui Tai Lang and Ox Head Liao, and landed on the bustling North and South Avenue of Rizhao City. Because of the straight road, they could see the floating island in the distant sky, emitting a faint white glow. That was the Sun Island, the meeting place where all the rankers gathered for meetings in today's Rizhao City Lord Mansion. As usual, there were 2 groups of guards patrolling the North and South Avenue. The barracks on both sides had long been changed into various kinds of shops. The goods inside were dazzling to the eyes. Because of the convenient transportation and the abundance of mineral resources, the local people's economic income was high. The circulation of goods was especially fast, and there was also a large consumer market for luxury goods. Many merchants moved after hearing the news. Some products from thousands of miles away, and even the specialties of the South Heaven realm, could be seen here. Look, there's a beast shop over there. Fan Luan Tai was not interested in the roadside snacks. Her hobbies were collecting weapons and visiting the beast shop. Of course, the latter hobby was because Yu Yang decided to buy a heaven-rank beast for everyone. Although Fan Luan Tai, the Oxhead girl, had improved a lot in the previous battles, she felt that her strength was not enough, and her contribution to the team was not much. Hence, she also wanted to contract an outstanding Heaven Stage beast as soon as possible, which was why she had this idea. The group chatted and laughed as they walked into the huge beast shop called Potential Alliance. It was different from the beast shop in Tong Tian Tower. This Potential Alliance was rebuilt from the original barracks. Other than being abnormally huge, it also used the basement to develop beast cages and directly sold mature beasts. Selling mature beasts was relatively rare in Tong Tian Tower. This was because although mature beasts were stronger, they had almost no potential and were different from young ones that could be cultivated. In addition, it was almost impossible for mature beasts to have a high compatibility with their new master. They would definitely have their own thoughts, and the stronger they were, the more so. Without compatibility, other than not being able to display their battle power, loyalty was also a problem. Therefore, in Tong Tian Tower, people preferred to buy young beasts, and even beast eggs were very popular. Here, on the contrary, the beast eggs were directly piled together, and there was almost no obvious classification. The beast eggs in Tong Tian Tower had gone through countless tests and evaluations. They were sold according to their potential and compatibility with a warrior's attributes. In this potential alliance, the beast eggs were casually sold like eggs in a market. How much are these beast eggs? Fan Luan Tai's eyes lit up. With so many beast eggs, he might be able to pick out a beast that was suitable for him. As long as he nurtured it well, he would have a heaven-ranked beast. Others might not dare to say, but Yu Yang's ability to look at beast eggs was definitely top-notch. Even if Yu Yang said that he was just guessing, he was able to guess correctly almost every time. His luck was extremely high. Oh, this seems to be not bad. Bao pointed at a gray egg. Her intuition told her that it was a good thing, but she bit her finger and was not too sure. With Bao, this lucky baby, buying a few would probably result in an outstanding one. Her eyesight was not good, but her luck was high. The success rate of buying beast eggs with her was only below that of Yu Yang. It was also a strong guarantee. A waiter who was chatting and laughing with his companion saw that Fan Luan Tai did not go to look at the mature beasts that were in a commotion in the dungeon, but instead went to look at the worthless beast eggs. His face immediately darkened, and he was extremely unhappy. Although he did not say it, the look of disdain on his face showed that he was a pauper. If Bao had pointed at a large wyvern egg, his expression might have been slightly better. However, the egg that Bao pointed at was a gray sparrow stork that could only be found near Rizhao City. This was a kind of low-level flying beast that had almost no fighting power and was equivalent to a meat bird. Even the worst mercenary would not like this kind of beast. The reason why the Potential Alliance Beast Shop bought this kind of egg was because the young of the Lightning Raptor and Thunder Hellhound liked to bite this kind of non-threatening gray sparrow stork as food. The gray sparrow stork grew fast and had a high reproduction rate. They were like rabbits in the wild. The mercenaries even gave them a nickname, Flying Rabbit. Normally in the wild, people would often hunt them for meat. This kind of trash beast, and the other party actually said that it was not bad, pretending to understand. Chapter 761. The disdain on the attendant's face deepened. If it wasn't for the store's rules that forbade customers from chasing them away or insulting them, he would have sneered at these poor people. It wasn't their fault that they were poor, but if they were to come to the top 3 Potential Alliance B store in Rizhao City, They would be overestimating themselves. Did these country bumpkins who came out of nowhere really understand beasts? Did they really have the money to buy beasts? If they were told that a matured golden wyvern that had the strength of a quasi-heaven rank could be sold for millions, they would probably faint from shock. The attendant did not speak ill of them. Instead, he used a verbal trick and ridiculed them in a roundabout way. Customers with good taste, this beast egg is indeed an outstanding beast. I believe that you know that our potential alliance is not a black-hearted store that cheats customers. On the contrary, reasonable prices and honest trade are the principles of our store. If you're able to buy a golden wyvern, then I will definitely use my full authority to gift you this outstanding beast egg. You must know that it is one of the local specialty beasts, the gray sparrow stork, whose flying speed is close to that of a golden wyvern. Gray sparrow stork? I think I've heard of it before. Fatty High scratched the back of his head like a country bumpkin, his face revealing a simple and honest smile that he had never seen before. It's probably about the same as the scarlet flame crane. Yikong also seemed to have eaten a moron. Even a fool would know that unless the scarlet flame crane died prematurely, it would become a heaven-ranked beast when it matured. The scarlet flame crane's bloodline was said to originate from the eastern divine beast, the crane. Although it was a long time ago and there was no way to verify it, it was a fact that the scarlet flame crane was very powerful. A non-heaven-ranked scarlet flame crane might not be able to defeat a golden wyvern, but a scarlet flame crane that had to reach heaven rank when it matured would be able to defeat a golden wyvern that could not reach heaven rank when it matured. Golden wyverns were very rare, but scarlet flame cranes were 100 times rarer than golden wyverns. Hearing the Yikong place the gray sparrow stork and scarlet flame crane together, the disdain in the attendant's eyes deepened. Of course, there was a smile on his face. He deeply hid the contempt that came from his bones. He even went along with Yikong's words and gave him a thumbs up. I can tell with one look that you're someone who knows what's good and what's bad. Look at your clothes. He looked at Yikong from head to toe and realized that Yikong, who was wearing luxurious clothes, looked more like the son of a nouveau riche from the countryside. He touched Yikong's collar and pretended to be surprised. Oh my, it's still made of polyamide. Oh no, it turns out that there are a few young masters in our shop. No, this must be a young master, or else they won't be able to wear such embroidered clothes. Yikong and Fatty High heard this. They quickly looked at each other. With a tacit understanding on their faces, the two of them puffed out their bellies and puffed out their chests, acting as if they were the young masters. Louie was a good child with a pure heart. She was not good at pretending. Afraid that she would laugh, she turned her face away and pulled Bao Air, who wanted to join in the fun, away to look at other war beasts. Otherwise, who knew what kind of trouble Bao Air would create with Fatty High and the others? I'll buy your egg. Tell me, how much is it? Fatty High patted his chest, showing that he had nothing but money. 10 gold. The waiter increased the price of 1 gold by 10 times. Wow, so expensive? Fatty High seemed to be shocked. Good things are like this, it's worth it. If not, there are also cheaper war beasts. What do you think of the golden wyvern over there? It's 39 years old and has just reached adulthood. It weighs 15 tons. Its largest wingspan is 35 meters. Its head and tail are 48 meters long. Its skin is as hard as golden armor, and it can spit flames up to 1,000 degrees. In battle, it can fly at a speed of 500 kilometers per hour, and in battle, it can fly at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. In the war beast arena, it has won 8 consecutive battles against war beasts of the same age and level. It is the famous super invincible golden wyvern little prince in Rizhao City. The waiter showed off to his heart's content. He could imagine that when he told them the price later, these poor people would all be scared to the point of peeing their pants. How much is this little prince worth? Fatty High asked as he pressed his chest excitedly, as if he was afraid that his heart would jump out. Luckily, Prince of Tianluo did not come along. Otherwise, he would have kicked him to death. Yikong also cooperated with him, showing an expression of anticipation, as if he was ready to faint at any time. This made the waiter feel especially pleased. The waiter reached out and patted Fatty High's shoulder, purposely speaking slowly, with an arrogant expression that said, "It's not expensive." For rich young masters like you, it's just the price of plucking a hair off your feet. Although it's the treasure of our shop, if you want to buy it, then I could do my best to give you a 2% discount. The super invincible golden wyvern little prince's selling price is 1 million. If you're willing to buy it immediately, then I'll give you 980,000. He held back the pleasure of approaching orgasm and deliberately slowed down his speech so that he could speak clearly and completely. If the other party couldn't hear him clearly, he didn't mind saying it one more time. Originally, he thought that once he finished speaking, the other party would be scared to the point of peeing their pants. At the very least, they would be so scared that they would sweat profusely and fall to the ground. Who would have thought that the fatty and the skinny guy in front of him would have no reaction at all? They didn't look like they were scared silly. They were so normal that it was strange. Afraid that the two poor bastards couldn't hear him clearly, the waiter deliberately used a mocking tone and repeated himself. I still didn't hear you clearly. How much did you say? Fatty High finally had some reaction. 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. If you want to buy it, I'll give you a 2% discount, saving you 20,000 gold. If you take out 980,000, you can take out our shop's treasure. This fellow couldn't wait to see the other party's frightened, pale face and trembling body. He almost shouted, "Poor bastards, if you don't have money, don't come here. This is not a place for poor bastards like you. Nouveau riche from the countryside, it's better for you to go to a shabby pub that sells 10 cups of bad wine for 1 gold and get drunk. That's where you country bumpkins should stay." Fatty High and Yi Kong looked at each other, but still didn't have any reaction. They didn't faint, didn't sweat, didn't pee their pants, and didn't tremble. "Looking at you guys, you want to buy it?" This fellow ridiculed them to his heart's content. "This is really incredible. Looks like I've met 2 rich people today. Is there really a 2% discount?" Fatty High asked weakly. "Of course. For a young master like you, if I don't give you a 2% discount, it's simply intolerable. However, you better take out all the money, because our shop is small and our profits are small. We don't accept businesses that don't pay on credit. 2 millionaires, hurry up and take out the 980,000 yuan. Our store's treasure is yours now. Do you have 980,000 gold? If you do, take it out. Heavens, I really can't wait to see how generous you are. Rich people, come, what are you waiting for? Our shop's treasure is just waiting for rich people like you to buy it." That fellow waved his hands and legs, his saliva flying everywhere as he shouted. He wanted to embarrass Fatty High and Yi Kong, making them so embarrassed that they couldn't leave the shop. "Buy that flying dragon and give this egg as a gift. You're the one who said that, right?" Fatty High hugged the gray sparrow stork's egg like a country bumpkin entering the city, greedily asking, "Will you go back on your words?" "No, we've said it before. Our words are worth 1,000 gold. As long as you can pay 980,000 gold immediately, this egg and the flying dragon will be yours. Quickly take out the money. Rich young master, you don't have to worry about the floor here. No matter how much gold you have, it won't be damaged. As long as you have money, you can smash it however you want." That fellow saw that Fatty High didn't have the money to buy the golden flying dragon. Maybe this fellow's clothes were rented to pick up girls. "If you don't have money, why are you acting like a rich young master? I want you to be embarrassed. I want you to be unable to raise your head in front of girls for the rest of your life. Forget it." Yi Kong stood up to smooth things over. "All right, let's go back and discuss." Fatty High seemed to want to take the opportunity to step down. "It can't be. You 2 rich young masters. You've already hugged all the eggs in our shop. We've even agreed on the price. Yet you still don't want to buy it? Are you guys trying to mess things up? Do you want to make fun of us? If you don't have money, why are you acting like a rich young master? People like you are trying to impress by smashing your own face at your own cost." That fellow already knew that the other party would have this kind of reaction, so he purposely negotiated the price, pretending to be a rich young master in front of the girls, bragging about it when he returned, but he definitely wouldn't have the money to buy it. Towards this kind of people, not only did he completely look down on them, he also wanted to embarrass them, making them unable to step down. What's wrong?" Lu Yi and the others heard the loud mockery of that waiter and hurried over. That fellow was about to continue to mock and ridicule them. Unexpectedly, Fatty High took out a storage ring and poured out a lot of gold coins on the floor. No one knew how many there were, but they were scattered all over the floor. Then, under the waiter's shocked expression, Fatty High waved his hands calmly. His tone as relaxed as if he was buying a cabbage in the market. "It's nothing. Monkey and I were just thinking if we should buy a flying dragon back to give third young master's Reaper Mantis a sumptuous meal. You should know that she hasn't eaten flying dragons recently, so her appetite isn't very good." Yi Kong stretched out his hand and patted the waiter's shoulder hard. He smiled brightly at the trembling waiter. "Please count the money. We didn't bring our cards. It's all cash. But I know that people like you who are waiting for rich young masters to throw money at you wouldn't mind counting the money." That fellow was patted by Yi Kong, as if his spine had been pulled out. He collapsed on the floor. "We can't sell it." From afar, the waiter's companion, who saw the situation take a turn for the worse, rushed over in fright, waving his hands in denial. "We can't sell the treasure of the shop, no matter how much it costs. Furthermore, 1,000,000 gold is just an extremely low price to show that the shop is cheap. This is the standard price that no one is selling. Sorry, we can't sell it to the public." Chapter 762. The patrol leader of Rizhao City, A.O. Chu, heard a large group of people surrounding the potential Alliance Warbeast shop. Inside the shop, there was a commotion. He immediately separated the crowd and asked righteously, "What's going on?" As a patrol leader, he had a lot of power here. He was in charge of all public security matters. Every year, although the shops on both sides of the street would offer a large amount of tribute, as the saying goes, a county official is not as good as a manager. As for the patrolling guards like A.O. Chu, they did not dare to offend them. Usually, they would bribe these guards with small gifts. During the holidays, there were even more gifts. "Sir," a bootlicker immediately came forward and explained to A.O. Chu, "It's like this. I heard that a tourist from afar did not know the rules here and wanted to buy the treasure of the shop, the gold flying dragon. Those fellows are really stupid. The price is just for show. How could the potential Alliance Warbeast shop sell it? Look, they are quarreling now. It's easy to make a mistake if one is not familiar with it. But I think the potential Alliance Warbeast shop is also wrong. If they don't want to sell it, they should have just said so. Why did they ask for money? They look down on us. They bullied outsiders and did not have money to buy it. Who knew that they would hit a steel plate? Serves them right." The crowd in front of the patrol leader, A.O. Chu, started to discuss. He only heard a few words, and he already understood what was going on. The shop bullied the customers, and the staff looked down on outsiders. They wanted to make fun of the other party and embarrass them. Who would have thought that the other party would take it seriously and decide to sell it? Now, the potential Alliance Warbeast shop was in a difficult position. If this was a small shop, A.O. Chu would not care about it and teach these unscrupulous merchants a lesson. But the potential Alliance Warbeast shop had a lot of tributes every year. They receive a lot of money and gifts. As the saying goes, when you receive money, you have to help them. A.O. Chu could not pretend that he did not see it. He tidied up the armor on his body and held the gold-ranked Bloodwave blade at his waist. Then, he walked with his legs splayed out, and under the escort of 10 patrolling guards, he walked into the entrance of the potential Alliance Beast shop through the path that the crowd had opened up. Inside, it was also full of people. One of the shop assistants was already paralyzed on the ground with a pale face. The other one was shaking like a chick that had nowhere to hide. There was still a group of shop assistants in the distance, but no one dared to come over. A few of the guards were beaten to a pulp. Those who did not faint knelt on the ground and raised their hands in surrender. Those who fainted on the ground had blood flowing out of their mouths and noses, forming a trail of blood that flowed from the scattered gold coins all the way to Captain A.O. Chu's feet. As a quasi-heaven-ranked city guard captain, Captain Ao Chu couldn't help frowning when he saw the guards of the Warbeast shop being beaten so miserably. Although the strength of these guards was not high, they were all around Earth rank level 5. The head of the strongest guard, Mi Luofu, who had the strength of Earth rank level 8, didn't seem to be in the shop. However, to be able to beat down all the guards in the shop without damaging anything in the shop This kind of battle speed and control had to be taken seriously by Captain Aochu. He glanced at the few foreigners who did not know the local rules and found that there were quite a few of them, both men and women. The leader was a fat man who looked like he deserved a beating. Standing beside the fat man was a skinny man with eyes as sharp as an eagle. Other than these two, there were also two tall, bull-headed men emitting a strong aura. Behind the bull-headed men were four female pig people. They seemed to be the guards of this team. Seeing that they were surrounding the three extraordinary beauties, it was obvious that this was not a mercenary team, but a little like a family's disciple who had gone on a trip. Cough. Captain Aochu coughed slightly, reminding everyone to pay attention to him. He then took out the attitude of city guard captain. What happened? Sir, you came at the right time. The trembling shop assistant saw Captain Aochu and immediately rushed over as if he had seen his savior. He bowed respectfully to Captain Aochu and said with a voice full of surprise, Sir, you have to uphold justice for our potential alliance. We are the most law-abiding shop in Rizhao City, but today what kind of crime did we suffer? You don't know, these customers threatened that if we do not hand over the golden dragon, they will destroy our shop. As you know, that's just the standard price. You won't be able to buy it, even if you pay 5 times the price. That's the treasure of our shop. How can we sell it? No matter how much you pay, we won't sell it. Of course, Captain Aochu would not foolishly agree. He just snorted, indicating that he understood. We need to investigate this matter. However, you are indeed a law-abiding shop. If someone wants to threaten you, we, the city guard captain, will definitely not ignore it. Deputy Captain Motto was in charge of expressing his stance. The onlookers felt a little disgusted when they heard the adjective law-abiding. Everyone in the city knew that not only the potential alliance, but also the entire Rizhao city did not have a single shop that was operating in accordance with the law. About 1,000 years ago, there was a bard who passed by here. When he left, he once said, "This is the dirtiest and most corrupt place under the sun. Even the air is filled with the stench of money. If I have to make a choice, rather than living here, I would rather stay in hell." 1,000 years ago, it was already so corrupt. 1,000 years later, which merchant in Rizhao City would still dare to say that they are honest merchants? Not only merchants, honest people had already starved to death in Rizhao City. The onlookers did not speak, but they sneered in their hearts. They could not wait for chaos. The more chaotic, the better. Rizhao City had not been lively for a long time. If they could make a mess, it would be a change in their lives. These people, did you guys beat them up? Aochu observed again and found that there were no heaven rankers. The strongest was only Earth rank level 7. It was just that their equipment was very good. Almost everyone had a gold rank treasure. For someone like Aochu, who had to work hard for 300 years to get the position of captain of the city guards, and for someone who had to accept bribes for 10 years to buy a bloodway blade, he couldn't help but feel jealous. These foreigners were too rich. Yes. Yikong nodded. You guys came to our Rizhao City to travel. We naturally welcome you. Our Rizhao City welcomes guests from all over the world. However, haven't you heard of the saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do? Since you are here, you have to abide by our rules. Captain Aochu decided to first stand on the big picture and first put a hat on the other party. Sir, we are good guests who abide by the rules. Fatty Hai replied with a smile. Beating people up is also called obeying the rules. When Captain Aochu said this, his subordinates behind him and the onlookers all laughed together. If someone in the city steals something, may I ask, sir, can we catch him and beat him up? Yikong asked in reply. Of course you can. Captain Aochu did not give the other party a chance to refute and immediately retorted. But dear guests from afar, I want to clarify the inappropriate example you just gave. In our Rizhao City, the security is excellent. There is no thief at all. Maybe you don't know, our Rizhao City is also known as the City of Sunshine and the Garden of the Mountains. Here, safety, cleanliness, beauty, prosperity, and happiness are the main themes of the city. Disaster, poverty, exploitation, ugliness, and corruption are things that will never happen. Is that so? Yikong shrugged his shoulders, expressing his doubt. Regarding your request to buy the golden flying dragon, I think I understand a little. Captain Aochu naturally protected the potential Alliance Beast shop. This shop was opened by the city lord's cousin and was usually managed by the elder brother of his fifth concubine. If he were to help outsiders, he would let the city lord's cousin know, and his position as captain would not be stable. Of course, he would not offend outsiders too much. This was especially true for rich foreigners. Towards outsiders who threw money all over the floor, Captain Aochu decided to use the strategy of persuading them to leave. He tidied up his shiny armor, rubbed the captain's badge on his arm, and revealed the blood wave slash on his waist more clearly to show that he was not inferior to the other party's wealth. Then, with an air of control, he said, "This is the treasure of the shop. It is not for sale to the public, but the city lord has ordered that everything in the shop must be marked with a price. It is strictly forbidden to deceive the customers with the price. Our city lord is such a noble gentleman. So, the golden flying dragon has also been marked with a price. As for the price, it is up to you, because this is not for sale at all. This kind of price, we call it the sample price. It is the rules of the trade. Dear guests, first of all, I represent Rizhao City to welcome you. Now, I think the misunderstanding in your hearts has been cleared. It is not that the potential Alliance B shop does not sell. It is that this is not for sale at all. Maybe you can look at other beasts. I have the authority to mediate. I can promise you that the potential alliance will give you a 5% discount. Giving benefits to the people is what we are most happy to do." Captain Aochu looked at Fatty Hai and Yi Kong with a very sincere look. He glanced at Lu Yi, Bao Er, and the others with the corner of his eyes. He realized that these few ladies who were protected by the city lord did not seem to want to cause trouble, so he decided to give them a way out. Yi Kong and Fatty Hai looked at each other and were about to express their stance. Suddenly, a guard squeezed through the crowd and whispered a few words in Captain Aochu's ear. If one's hearing was especially good, he would be able to hear the words "city lord's cousin, rushing here," and so on. Captain Aochu's face changed when he heard this. His face changed, became gloomy, from red to black. Habitually, he tidied up the armor on his body and used his finger to lightly wipe the badge on his arm. Then, with lightning speed, he pulled out the blood wave slash from his waist and pointed it at Yi Kong and Fatty Hai. "What a pair of liars. I was almost cheated by you two. So you are professional liars, deliberately causing trouble in our Rizhao city. Let me tell you, this is not a place where you can behave atrociously and succeed. Damn it, if it wasn't for someone reporting you in time, I would have been cheated by you. Do you want to blackmail the potential Alliance B shop under my nose? Let me tell you, unless I die, you will not succeed." Outside, the sound of hooves could be heard. A luxurious team of horses and knights in bright armor escorted a middle-aged man of noble status who was dressed in embroidered clothes as they galloped through the streets. They did not stop. Even when Captain Aochu rushed out to greet them respectfully, they turned a blind eye to him and left. The surrounding people were all discussing spiritedly. "Look, it's the city lord's cousin, the powerful General Wang. He seems to be out hunting. Actually, there are a few days like this every month. Did no one report to General Wang about the potential Alliance B shop? Why would he care about a golden dragon? This is only the smallest of General Wang's 15 shops. The one in the central square is the real main shop. The others are all Alliance shops. Yes, yes. To General Wang, a golden dragon is indeed nothing. Recently, this golden dragon has won too many battles. No one is willing to fight with it anymore. General Wang even wants to sell in exchange for a heaven rank Inferno Lion. I heard this news from my nephew. The heaven rank Inferno Lion has been selected in Luoma City, but it has not been shipped over. Don't you know who my nephew is? He is the son-in-law of General Wang's housekeeper. He is now a member of General Wang's guards. He was the one who rode past just now. Does General Wang really want to sell this golden dragon? Can you be sure?" Captain Aochu asked softly. "I'm absolutely sure. The golden dragon has won too many battles, even those that it shouldn't have won. Especially that purple-eyed nightmare that the little city lord has just trained. The little city lord is very angry. General Wang wanted to kill the golden dragon to apologize to the little city lord, but the little city lord rejected. This time, he probably wants to get some good magic crystals to apologize to the little city lord. General Wang has long wanted to sell this troublesome golden dragon. Otherwise, why would he ask his housekeeper to go to Luo Ma City to buy a heaven-rank inferno lion? Captain Aochu tidied up his armor and wiped his captain's badge lightly. His face turned from black to blue. He sneered at Yi Kong and Fatty Hai. Didn't you want to buy the golden dragon? This captain has decided. I will buy it for you. You swindlers, take out your money. I won't bid a high price like 5 million, but you still have to take out the price of 4,500,000. This captain will let you taste the price of failing to cheat. Rumble. A deafening sound came from the street outside. A figure fell heavily in the middle of the street, smashing a clear human shape on the stone floor. Just as that person was about to struggle to get up, a noble figure wearing a platinum mask descended from the sky. He used his feet to step on the unlucky person who had collided with him. Everyone could clearly see that the man whose head was being stepped on was General Wang, the city lord's cousin, who had been escorted by the guards just now. General Wang, who was usually bad-tempered, did not get angry. Instead, he begged pitifully, "Spare me, powerful heaven rank. A strong person like you will not bother to kill an ant like me, because it will dirty your hands and tarnish your glorious reputation. I am willing to apologize to you for my rudeness. Please forgive me, powerful heaven rank. This lowly person kowtows to you." General Wang, who was wearing embroidered clothes, struggled to crawl under the other party's foot, making a kneeling posture. Then, he slapped his own face until it looked like a pig's head. That was until the noble masked man kicked General Wang a dozen meters away and yelled disdainfully, "Get lost!" General Wang bowed respectfully and retreated, quickly disappearing into the crowd. The guards also covered their heads and scurried away like frightened rats. The surrounding people were so scared that they almost suffocated. It was too scary. What kind of existence was this? Even the city lord's cousin was so scared that he slapped his own face. Could it be a special envoy from the central shrine? The masked man floated away. After a long time, the crowd slowly regained their senses. Captain Aochu's face turned from blue to purple. He shivered and realized that his back was drenched in cold sweat. He was very embarrassed. General Wang, whom he wanted to suck up to, was not even worth a fart in front of a noble person. He was just like a pitiful worm begging for his life. Now, he was no longer in the mood to deal with the business of those foreigners. Feeling displeased, he tidied up his armor and quickly rubbed the badge on his shoulder. In the process of rubbing it, he thought of the words he should say. Then he pointed at Yi Kong and Fatty Hai with his blood wave. "Scram, get out of Rizhao City immediately. This is not a place where you liars can stay. Men, bring these swindlers out of the city. Confiscate all the stolen goods on the ground and confiscate them. Not only did you chase them out of the city, you even confiscated my money. Isn't this a little inappropriate?" A voice rang in Captain Aochu's ears. "Who dares to question my decision?" Captain Aochu's face turned ashen. He thought to himself, "Don't think that just because a passing heaven rank ranker hit General Wang, you can question me." He turned around and decided to teach the other party a lesson. He wanted to take the opportunity to build up his prestige. However, when he turned around, he was so scared that his blood vessels almost burst. The masked man who stepped on General Wang's head just now was standing behind him. Captain Aochu's face immediately turned ashen. He tried his best to calm down and kneeled down to apologize to the other party like General Wang. However, his body was stiff, and he could not kneel down no matter how hard he tried. Instead, he inexplicably said, "Is the money on the ground yours?" Fatty Hai stepped forward and nodded with a fake smile. "Do you want me to introduce him? He is the leader of the swindlers you mentioned." Half of the onlookers fainted from shock. Everyone wanted to see how the chameleon race, who was known for being ruthless, would face the wrath of the honorable superior. Everyone wanted to see how the chameleon race, who was used to playing both sides, would face the wrath of the honorable superior. Chapter 763. Sun Island, City Lord's Mansion. Too High, who had just woken up from a comfortable lunch break, felt a little noisy outside. He picked up his favorite sweet date tea from the maid, took a sip, and casually asked the butler Jiao Shi, who was standing respectfully with his hands down, "What's the matter?" "Master, there are two small matters today." Butler Jiao Shi pulled out a chair and helped City Lord Too High to sit down comfortably. While handing over the teacup that Too High had casually put down, he reported, "A heaven-ranked powerhouse passed by this place on a flying carriage. General Wang, who was out on a hunt, ordered the guards to drive away the powerhouse, but was beaten up." "Is that so?" City Lord Too High shook his head indifferently. "A Wang, that trash who only knows how to eat, drink, and have fun. If he doesn't get beaten up, he won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. I guess the other party still gave me some face, otherwise he would have twisted his dog head off directly." Another thing, in the potential alliance, the staff looked down on foreign tourists and deliberately tricked them into buying the store's treasure, the golden flying dragon. Who would have thought that the other party could come up with the standard price? And they were embarrassed. The captain of a city patrol went to intervene, but because the potential alliance is General Wang's shop, the captain of the guard sided with the potential alliance. As a result, he was stretched out with his tongue and put into the sky, turning into a human kite, causing half the city to watch. Stretched out tongues can be put into the sky and turned into a human kite. City Lord Too High was puzzled. Could this be done? It was not that City Lord Too High had never let go of a human kite. This was a glorious and special tradition, which was said to have started during the war with the Tong Tian Tower army 6,000 years ago. At that time, the Heaven Realm army suffered successive defeats, and in order to vent their anger, they executed the captive Tong Tian Tower martial artists by various means. The process of making a human kite was usually like this. Grab the enemy and find a particularly steep cliff, the steeper the better. Then, cut open the unlucky fellow's stomach and pull out his intestines. Then, throw the other party off the cliff, dragging the intestines with him as he kept moving. In this way, the fellow who was still alive would use all his strength to float and chase after the person who was pulling him. In order to reduce the pain he was feeling, some people with particularly good control could make the enemy suspended in mid-air fly human kites for more than an hour. Such a cruel human kite was also one of the top 10 tortures in the Western Heaven Realm. Perhaps mercenaries were not afraid of death, but they were extremely afraid of this kind of torture. For City Lord Too High, he had been a human kite with his intestines pulled out many times, and he was already a little tired of it. However, he had never tried stretching out a tongue and flying a human-shaped kite in the sky, so he was immediately curious. "Master, that unlucky patrolling guard captain is a chameleon. His tongue is extremely long, several times longer than his body. Although I didn't see it with my own eyes, my subordinates reported that the unlucky guy first had his tongue stretched out. Then a large amount of gas was poured into his throat, causing his stomach to swell like a rubber ball. His whole body was suspended in the air. Finally, tie a rope around his neck and turn him into a human ball-shaped kite. Let people use the rope to run on the streets." "Interesting." City Lord Too High clapped his hands happily. Then, after a slight pause, he tapped on the table in front of him with his index finger. "When will we also try to find a chameleon prisoner and use the same method to make a human ball-shaped kite and put it in the forbidden prison in the north of the city? Let those thieves see how sad the fate of offending me Too High is." The butler Jiao Shi immediately bowed 90 degrees and replied politely, "As you wish, my dear City Lord." City Lord Too High thought for a moment and asked, "Do you have any way to make an appointment with the Heaven Stage expert who passed by and beat all wing up to talk to me?" As for making friends with Heaven Stage experts, Too High felt that the more the better. Never too little. Things that could be achieved with a little money. City Lord Too High was never stingy. He, who was at the peak of the 4th level of Heaven Stage, had always been rejected by the Heaven Realm. He felt that what he lacked was not only strength, but also heritage. He had seen more than once that a Heaven Stage expert whose strength was lower than his had been allowed to enter the Heaven Realm. Not to mention the potential disciples of the famous sects, who were often not heaven stage or even quasi-heaven stage experts, were led by the elders of their families to enter the heaven realm that they had always dreamed of but could not enter. In the past, City Lord Too High did not understand the reason and only felt that it was unfair. Later, after being enlightened by the Lord of Ling Yun Kingdom, he suddenly realized, although as the Lord of Rizhao City who guarded the gate to the heaven realm, he also had the strength of the peak of the 4th level of heaven stage. But without the support of a famous family, it was impossible to enter the heaven realm with one's own strength. Even the Lord of Ling Yun Kingdom could not lead his beloved General Too High into the heaven realm. However, he brought hope to Too High. As long as he could get the support of 300 heaven stage experts, then Too High could get the nomination. In order to get this qualification, City Lord Too High had worked hard for 200 years and found 137 heaven stage experts to support him. During this period, he had spent countless wealth. Among all the heaven stage experts that he knew, there was no one that Too High had not tried hard to win over, but not every heaven stage expert was willing to choose to support Too High. There were also the Lord of Golden Wheel City, the Lord of Light Hope City, and the Lord of Wisdom City who were also competing with Too High. The quota of 300 heaven stage experts had never been achieved. Now, Too High even wanted to get to know the heaven stage experts who passed by to see if they could become friends and turn to support him into the heaven realm. It had been half a year since a strange heaven stage expert passed by Rizhao City. Today he met one. Although he beat up his cousin Wang Chung, Too High City Lord did not care at all. "Master, I am afraid it will be a little difficult." The butler Jiao shook his head slightly and sighed. General Wang offended the other party first, and the captain of the city patrol and the store of the potential alliance ruthlessly swindled. That heaven stage expert's impression of us should not be very good. In fact, the outsiders that the shop assistant swindled were subordinates of that heaven rank powerhouse. As for that patrolling guard captain, he was ordered by that heaven rank powerhouse to turn into a human-shaped kite and fly in the sky. He's still hanging on the flagpole. Damn it. City Lord Too High slammed the table with a little annoyance, knocking over his favorite sweet date tea. With his usual temper, he would have flown into a rage. Without killing more than 100 people, the depression in his heart would not subside. However, 3 months ago, Lord Ling Yin summoned City Lord Too High and criticized Too High for being too cruel and bloodthirsty, killing people like flies, and his reputation was very bad. This kind of rumor would make it difficult for him to prepare to enter the heaven realm. After receiving the secret instruction of Lord Ling Yun, City Lord Too High changed his usual bloodthirsty methods and built up his reputation. He suppressed his anger. "It is because I have offended the other party that I want to change his impression. If he is willing to support me to enter the heaven realm, then even if I tear down the potential alliance to appease his anger, what's the harm? Besides, if a heaven stage expert wanted to flatten the store in a thunderous rage, he would have done so long ago. Now he did not do that, but only beat a few people, proving that he is actually very magnanimous and not the kind of person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Go, bring a gift, and tell him my sincerity. If he is willing to come, I will set up a banquet in the City Lord's mansion to welcome him." The butler Jiao nodded in agreement. Before leaving, he cautiously reminded, "Master, it is said that there are still remnants of the Tongtian Tower in the capital of the Ling Yun nation. Although 6,000 years have passed, those rascals still haven't given up. They want to open the door to the heaven realm every day." City Lord Too High waved his hand. "Don't worry, those remnants will not dare to come to our Rizhao City. This Sun Island has a heaven realm formation that makes it impossible for them to hide. Besides, since the great leader of the rebels, Yi Guang, was besieged and killed in battle, and his loyal subordinates were slaughtered one by one, the remnants of the Tongtian Tower no longer have the power to rise again. I am afraid that they do not even have a heaven stage expert now, and each generation is worse than the previous one. Thousands of years ago, the remnants of that time were really powerful, and they could easily attack several cities in succession. But thousands of years later, the powerful heaven stage experts have long died, and the rest are all ants, no longer enough to be feared. Yes, this lowly one worries too much. The butler Jiao sure bowed. Your worry is right. We do have to pay attention to the remnants of the rebels. But with the Sun Island here, let alone now, even those powerful heaven stage rebels from 6,000 years ago could not take it down. Do you know how many heaven stage rebels are imprisoned under our feet? Nearly 100. And even the past leaders have more than 20 to 30 people. City Lord Too High laughed. People outside thought that the Sun Island was the City Lord's mansion. In fact, this was a prison with super strong sealing power, with a barrier jointly sealed by the giants of the Heaven Realm. Even a Heaven Stage expert would not be able to escape from here. The Sunshine Prison in the north of the city was just a decoy. How could it hold a powerful Heaven Stage expert? At most, it could only hold lazy laborers in mining and hooligans who liked to steal chickens and dogs in the city. The butler Jiao Shi bowed deeply, and even City Lord Too High did not see that when he bowed his head, his eyes exuded a strange light. However, before he could raise his head, that light quickly dissipated. It turned into respectful admiration and worship. Half an hour later, Butler Jiao Shi came back to report. For City Lord Too High, who was bent on entering the Heaven Realm, this was good news, because the Heaven Stage expert who had beaten General Wang and turned the guard captain into a human kite on the street had accepted City Lord Too High's apology and invitation to a banquet. In return, the Heaven Stage expert asked Butler Jiao Shi to bring back a top-grade red coral stone to Too High. This top-grade red coral stone, only in the Heaven Realm. It was a rare gem that could not be bought with money in Sunshine City. When City Lord Too High saw this red coral stone, his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that this Heaven Stage expert had been to the Heaven Realm? At least, this Heaven Stage expert's background was not simple. Some of his teachers, relatives, or friends should have been to the Heaven Realm. Otherwise, there would be no such rare items as the red coral stone, let alone giving it away casually. What is the strength of that Heaven Stage expert? City Lord Too High felt that he should win over the other party. Of course, he should first understand the other party's information. I can't see clearly that noble Heaven Stage expert is not someone that I can spy on. Butler Jiao Shi shook his head and said with a wry smile, on the surface, he does not look like a Heaven Stage expert, but in front of him, I feel a sense of inferiority, as powerless as an ant. He was wearing an unparalleled and unique platinum mask, which was comparable to a holy ranked treasure. I have never seen a platinum treasure with such spirituality and power. In the hands of that honorable heaven ranker, there was another, how do I put it? It should be an earth god weapon, a sky scorpion glove. I think that is definitely a treasure that even the rankers in the Heaven Realm rarely have. That noble Heaven Stage expert, please forgive me for not being able to see clearly and even dare not speculate. Really? When Too High heard this, he was overjoyed. If this Heaven Stage expert really came from the Heaven Realm, then he would be in luck. He excitedly slapped the table. Quickly, no. The distinguished guest has come. I will personally invite him. Chapter 764. The bugle was loud, and the dragon flag was fluttering. The mighty honor guard, under the command of the City Lord's personal guard captain, was divided into two teams, energetically welcoming the arrival of the distinguished guests. City Lord Too High stood at the front, quietly waiting for the luxury flying car to descend. Usually, apart from welcoming Lord Ling Yun, City Lord Too High had never tried the habit of personally leading the team to welcome guests. As the City Lord's cousin, Tudwa felt that his cousin had gone a little too far this time. Even if it was a heaven rank expert, he was not qualified to enjoy the courtesy of the City Lord personally welcoming them. What's more, Rizhao City was not an ordinary city. This was a city of honor dedicated to commemorating the defeat of the Tongtian Tower invaders by the Heaven Realm martial artists. Of course, whether it was his cousin or the captain of the guards, Tudwa would not easily offend the dignity of Too High. He also knew of Too High's violent temper. The luxury flying car stopped, the door opened, and two people rushed out of the curtain, one fat and one thin, followed by a dog of such a low level that it made people speechless. Many people thought that this was an ornamental pet dog and did not take it seriously. They even secretly felt that the taste of the dog's owner was ridiculous. Even if he liked pets, he would raise a beautiful one. Such an ugly dog. What kind of taste was this? It really made people speechless. When they heard that the city lord was welcoming the distinguished guests, the generals and wealthy businessmen who heard the news all felt a little proud at this time, raising their heads high, because the pets that their wives and concubines brought with them were either beautiful, powerful, or very unique. Raising a gray and unsightly dog as a pet, this kind of taste, if the owner of the dog was not a heaven rank expert, it was estimated that everyone would laugh loudly. When City Lord Too High saw the lazy gray wolf, his eyelids twitched fiercely. He secretly paid attention to the generals and wealthy businessmen behind him, glancing at the various pets lying obediently in the arms of the noble women out of the corner of his eye, and then compared them to the half-dead gray wolf lying on the ground in front of him. Suddenly, he felt a little ashamed and a little annoyed that he had lived and played with a group of stupid and self-righteous idiots for hundreds of years. Could it be that he was also a fool? City Lord Too High was very mad at the noble women who were secretly snickering behind him and the generals with bulging bellies and puffed chests. In the entire Heaven Realm, which Heaven-ranked ranker would keep a Bronze-ranked level 3 mutt as a pet? No. Even the Western Heaven Realm expert, Lion Mastiff, who was known as the Dog King, had tens of thousands of dogs under his command, but he didn't have such a rotten mutt. As a Heaven ranker, how could he raise such a broken dog? Moreover, it was so favored that it was able to catch up to others? There was only one real answer. That was the guys behind him had all misjudged. This seemingly stupid and lazy dog, whose strength wasn't even at Earth rank, was actually a powerful magic beast with strength close to Heaven rank, and was most likely a variant of the Cerberus. It was just that this kind of beast had an extremely strong camouflage ability. Furthermore, it was good at transforming completely in battle, just like some insect-type beasts that had evolved a second time in battle. City Lord Too High secretly compared his own war beasts. Other than the Golden Horn Black Dragon with the strength of Heaven rank level 2, he felt that even the demon-sucking Demonis and Chariot Stone Scorpion with a strength of Heaven rank level 1 seemed to be inferior. He habitually looked at the City Lord's bracelet on his wrist. On the surface of the bracelet that was polished with gemstones, a dozen green dots appeared. Safe. The ones who came were not the remnants of the Tong Tian Tower rebels. Otherwise, the City Lord's bracelet would immediately appear red, warning that the enemy was invading. On the wristband's mirror, the green that represented the dog lying lazily on the ground was surrounded by a faint golden circle, proving its strength. It was at least a Heaven Stage War beast, but it was hiding its strength, which was why it emitted a faint golden color. Similarly, in the luxurious flying car, there are also a few green dots with faint golden halos. However, in the instant that they were detected, the other party seemed to have sensed something and all of them disappeared, leaving only a single green dot with 2 golden halos. A total of 5 Heaven rankers have disappeared. They should have entered the Grimoire world. City Lord Too High was shocked. What did it mean to be guarded by 5 Heaven rank guards with a double golden halo on the bracelet? It meant that this target had at least the strength of Heaven rank level 5 or above. There is absolutely no mistake, because this kind of bracelet was developed by the Heaven Realm for hundreds of years to deal with the invaders of the Tong Tian Tower. If it was possible to make a mistake in other places, then it was absolutely impossible to make a mistake on this Sun Island. This was the main base for the research and development of the bracelet. Although the research studio had been moved to the central shrine thousands of years ago, the remaining test energy and energy ripples here were still running. Suddenly, under the silent gaze of City Lord Too High, the green dot with the double golden halo changed in an instant. First it turned into a golden circle, then into a green dot without a golden halo. It was no different from the surrounding green dots. City Lord Too High sighed. No wonder the dog was so inconspicuous. It turned out that not only was it a watchdog, but even its master was extremely good at hiding his strength. Hiding his strength? Too High suddenly thought of something and looked at the fat and thin guards again. There was nothing special about these two people. Their strength was like that of an ant, not even at Earth rank level 5. The fat man had a cheap smile on his face. The thin man was very serious, and his eyes were a little sharp, like a martial artist who had experienced real war. Just looking at them like this, there was nothing special about them. However, if the bracelet was used for comparison and evaluation, City Lord Too High secretly used the pointer on the bracelet to point to two targets. One was the wretched fat man who looked particularly incompetent when he smiled, and the other was an Earth rank level 6 member of the personal guard. As a result, to City Lord Too High's surprise, the scale of the pointer was completely tilted towards the green, representing the fat man. The fatso's winning rate was as high as 99%. In other words, if the bodyguard, who looked much stronger on the surface, were to fight with the fatso who looked very weak, he would be beaten to a pulp. There was no possibility for him to fight back. Inside the luxury flying car, from more young people got out. Two were guards, the guards of the twin brothers. The other two seemed to be the companions of the heaven rank powerhouses. One was as cold as ice, with a murderous aura, and did not seem to be a heaven rank, but it made Too High a little surprised that this young man was extraordinary. The other was handsome and elegant, and at first glance, one could tell that he was a child of a famous family. Neither of them had the strength of heaven rank, but they gave people a very strange feeling. City Lord Too High couldn't help but point the pointer to the green, that representing the handsome and elegant children of the aristocratic families. One was the general behind him who had the strength of a quasi-heaven rank level 9. As a result, the winning rate showed that this young man with a smile like a spring breeze would have a 95% chance of defeating the general he relied on. Then he used the pointer to compare his cousin, the guard captain Tudo, and the young man who was like an ice cube. The result was even more dizzying. The guard captain Tudo, who had the strength of a heaven rank level 1, had a 90% chance of losing. Although the bracelet was only a test and did not represent a real battle, it could also reflect many things, such as the strength of the group of people on the other side. Everyone was hiding their strength, whether it was the guards, the war beasts, or the real owner who had not yet stepped out of the luxury flying car. The strength of those guards is too weak. Almost all of them are below Earth rank level 5. The pets are not only weak, but also ugly. The treasures are not bad. I saw that the guards all have gold rank treasures, as expected of the guards of heaven rank, really extravagant. The generals, rich businessmen, and noble ladies behind him were discussing in a very low voice in the local language of Rizhao City. They were not afraid of the other side hearing them, because 6,000 years ago, in order to prevent the martial artists of Tong Tian Tower from obtaining information through words, the strong of the heaven realm specially created a battle secret language, which was later passed down and became the local language of Rizhao City. If they had not specifically learned it, outsiders would not be able to understand the local language here, which was the battle secret language of the past. City Lord Too High was very embarrassed. He wanted to turn around and give each of them a slap in the face to wake up these idiots. However, he felt that the heaven stage ranker in the luxurious flying car, that honorable lord, should be watching his performance. He hurriedly revealed a face full of smiles and politely returned the greeting to the guard, saying that he welcomed him. Lord Ling Yin had said such a sentence, which was still fresh in the memory of City Lord Too High. He said, "The more you stay with a confused person, the more sober you appear. The more you stay with a stupid person, the smarter you appear." City Lord Too High felt that this was the case for him now. He strode forward and personally welcomed the heaven rank expert opposite him out of the car. Sure enough, as soon as this sincere gesture was made, the other side immediately responded. First, his aura changed slightly, and then the curtain moved slightly. A man wearing a platinum mask on his face, accompanied by a wise man who looked like an old fox, stepped out of the flying car and walked towards City Lord Too High. This nobleman was beyond the expectations of City Lord Too High. Even though he had learned from the mouth of the butler Jiaoshi that the other side was a young man, City Lord Too High still did not expect that the other side would be this young. Perhaps he was only in his 20s, and he felt like a child who had not yet fully grown up. However, such a young man was the extraordinary existence who had reached heaven rank level 5 with the double golden rings on his wrist. On the surface, this young man did not seem to be a heaven rank expert, but he also did not feel like an earth rank expert. He was very elusive. Sometimes he seemed weak yet strong. Sometimes he seemed strong yet weak. On his body, he was wearing a hand-woven white robe embroidered with a kind of complex heaven runes that dazzled City Lord Too High's eyes. The pattern formed by these heaven runes looked like decoration on the surface, but in fact, when it was activated, it would form an extremely powerful defensive battle formation. City Lord Too High had once asked the palace of Ling Yun King to see one, but the national treasure rune brocade robe, that Ling Yun King regarded as a treasure, the rune patterns on it could not be compared to this robe. Exchanging 100 pieces for one piece, he probably would not be willing to trade. On the arm of this unimaginably noble heaven rank expert, there was a very special style of glove, slightly shining with brilliant brilliance. City Lord Too High did not need to look. Even if he was blind, he could see that this was an earth rank divine weapon. It was at least above heaven rank level 3. Not only was this glove an earth rank divine weapon, but the steel monster that followed behind like a puppy was also an earth rank divine weapon. What made City Lord Too High most dizzy was that on the other arm of this young man, there was a special existence that looked like a wrist guard and a divine weapon at the same time. It was an extremely special life, like the legendary divine dragon of the Eastern Immortal clan, coiled around the arm of the young man. What was this? A heaven-ranked divine weapon? Who was this young man? What kind of noble existence was he? City Lord Too High did not dare to think too much, for fear that he would be so scared that his heart would jump out of his throat. He only knew one thing now, that if he served this young master well, not to mention getting the qualification to enter the heaven realm, even becoming a city lord would not be a problem. Now, the only problem was how to cater to this young master's taste, so that this young master would come happy and return satisfied. This was the most troublesome thing for City Lord Too High. Welcome, distinguished guest. Too High is very fortunate, very fortunate. If it were not for all his acquaintances watching, Too High would have knelt down and greeted the other party with a big bow. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.